I'll praise you, Most High. Yeah, that sound good, y'all. Hello. What we doing?
Hey, cook that up, Khalid.
We still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, finches hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. This here, this how we live. Look here, homie, we still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, finches hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. This here, this how we live. Look here, homie, be still. They said you got the call, they tryna blackball you. Like what they own, bro. You can't blackball a boss. The whole world, they hate this right here. The way you hate your neighbor, might as well pull the trigger on yourself. You know we get excited by the smoke. Every day we casting flesh. Say my treasure stored in heaven, we gon' blow the rest. They disrespected and we check. The bank that causing kept it still. They asking others about my business, but I ain't got no instant messy. I still deal with ox direct. Cause your person don't mean you respect. Your outlet don't get no credit if the ox ain't in it. Money answer all things and you got all these questions. Playing Vic. Look, I employ slavery. If you broke, just say it. Yeah, them crews in the hood, Jews in the hood. I caught them clues, now I'm good. I broke it down, he understood my all to you. Filtered through, you found a few, I'm good. We what we sold, this here exclusive. They like, hey, folk, look what you doing. We still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, finches hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. This here, this how we live. Look here, homie, we still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, finches hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. This here, this how we live. Look here, homie, be still. Most I told me, be still, give her room to work. Know my movie work. If faith ain't good, don't put the work in. In the spirit flexing, that my day job. Getting the mode out my own, I don't know what they are. Before I got the blueprint, and I'm too legit to quit. Let it spark in the dark, be a light, got it lit. Tryna map my movement, got my haters pondering. The ops set the question there, they wanna know if you still lit. It hit different, you authentic, a lot of ops pretending. We do it for the Lord, got my own motion, who are you to judge? The most high first, none above. Tap in the spirit, we locked in, they'll come against your plot. You know Judas said, yeah, we spit them scripts, they barely now. Came on slave ships, then you not black. You know they tell you every Isaiah 30:20, yeah, we bad. You see what happened when they tried to rail the train up off the track. False witness, hypocrite. We throw shots back, now they feel hit. Must go get it. We still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, finches hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. This here, this how we live. Look here, homie, we still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, finches hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. This here, this how we live. Look here, homie, be still.
We live.
All right. Shalom. I guess I just introduced myself. I'm Kai Rob. Got a couple of my brothers with me. We represent an organization called 3BY. It stands for Brothers Bound by Yahawah. So first and foremost, in the Philippians 2 spirit, I don't want to exalt myself. I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahawah, who is Christ manifested in the flesh. That's why we're here tonight. So we basically introducing or just kind of trying the case of whether Christ can be the flesh manifestation of Yahawah, or in other words, the full glory of Yahawah, which people couldn't see in the Old Testament. I guess we'll just start off by one of my key points. I'm gonna get straight into it. I guess I ask a question, just trying to shed light on what kind of questions I was asking myself to make me even evaluate this position. And the question was, why don't you hear the name Yahawah in the New Testament? Why isn't Christ saying it? Why isn't anyone actually calling him Yahawah while he's on the earth? And why isn't he calling who he refers to often as his father Yahawah? So that's what kind of like started my journey or whatever. And some of the responses that I heard, they didn't add up. Like, for instance, I was asking people one of the reasons, and they'll come up with kind of like the Adonai position. They'll say, well, our text fell into the wrong hands. So when we know we know swine are going to get our pearls. So we're going to try and mask the name since it's going into another language. We know it's going to fall into the hands of the Greeks and the Romans. I kind of evaluated that position, and it started kind of falling apart when I realized that most of the Gospels have evidence of being written in Hebrew, but the main one that comes up the most is the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew. And when you go and look at the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew, every time you visit a verse where you would think the name Yahawah would be mentioned is absent. So the excuse that it's going into Greek or another language is kind of gets rendered null and void, because you have a Hebrew version of Matthew, and that thought is not reflected in that text. So in other words, that person put up an argument and said, since it's in Greek, you won't read it. But then I get a Hebrew version and they're refusing to use the name Yahawah. So that can't be the reason why it's absent in the Greek manuscripts or texts of the New Testament. So that's kind of how everything started, besides the predestination that I believe the Most High put on our spirits, that we will start figuring these things out in the last days. So before we get into this, this is an emphatic statement. The scriptures support what I'm saying. And I'm going to make a declaratory statement that if you can't see it, it's because he doesn't want you to, and that's out of my power. So with that being said, just to validate that statement, I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 6 real quick, just to prove my point. I'm going to go to Isaiah 6. Let me swap out this Greek Septuagint real quick. I'm going to go to another screen. All right, and I'm going to go to Isaiah 6 real quick. This is one of the key chapters that woke me up in my studies once I realized that I fit the curses that he would put up on us for an ensign as a Hebrew Israelite. So I'm reading this one day. Hopefully y'all can see this. I'll blow it up. I'm just going to kind of skim through this, right, until we get the concepts I'm looking for. Isaiah 6:1, it says, in the year the king Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne. Now, the first thing that threw me off right here is you would assume that this is the Tetragrammaton. So my new concept now is that Christ sacrificed himself to his Father, who we don't have his name, to save Israel from the laws of Yahawah that reflect the laws that are in the heaven that belongs to the Ancient of Days. So basically, we're emphatically stating at this point that the God of the Old Testament is not the God, the Father of who the world calls Jesus, who we call Yahawah Shai. I'm going to say it again. The God of the Old Testament is not God, the Father of Jesus, or who Jesus refers to his Father in the New Testament. That's our position. We maintain that you still can somewhat maintain a position of Arianism in this sense as well, even though I still want to revisit that before I just buckle down on that. I'm really just focused on this concept, and we can work that out later. So I'm going to read the precept real quick. And Isaiah 6:1 says, in the year the king Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. We are saying that this is the Ancient of Days, who is separate from other entities that you would see right here. So what's got us so convinced is when you go to the Lord, forgive me, let me shrink that. When you go to the Lord right here, as you can see, it's not Yahawah. So the translators in context knew that this was reserved for Adonai, right? Which is it has multiple uses, but it's really interesting that the tetragrammaton is not used right here. So that's something to know as we continue. Let me close this out. All right, so just to get my understanding, I'm going to insert my position as far as what these names represent. Instead of trying to twist the scriptures, I'm going to reflect my understanding by putting what I understand needs to be in place. So let's start it over again. It says, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Ancient of Days sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. We profess that this is the temple where those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. This is the temple of that deity. This is the temple of the eighth day kingdom. This is the temple where no flesh shall inherit the kingdom that this temple is in. That kingdom is the eighth day. We are emphatically stating that. Verse 2 says, above it stood the seraphims. Each one has 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. So the nature of these seraphims, who people like to call angels, is almost like they're everywhere. If you see it going left, it's going right. It's covering the opposite direction. You see it going up, it's going down. It's like in Isaiah's vision, he's trying to describe the locomotion of these creatures, these supernatural creatures. And it's almost like, to the best of our human ability, they're everywhere almost, in a sense, as far as how they travel. All right, let's stop at verse 2. So people attribute seraphims to being angels for the most part, but let's evaluate what a seraphim is, because we're going to need that later on. So a seraphim is basically a fiery flying serpent, from what I understand. All right, let's get that. And the Hebrew word is 8313, saraf, right? And as the audience can see, it says a seraphim is a fiery serpent, a poisonous serpent, right? A majestic being, 6 wings, human hands or voices, and attendance upon God. This is glory. This is a glorified state that these are in. This is the nature that we profess that Christ had to be made lower than in order to for his blood to suffice on a literal altar, right? But him in his position of the Melchizedek priesthood, he also sacrificed in this realm as well. But we think that these are beings that Christ had to be basically demoted from in the position of being a human being in order to effect his cause. All right. So a seraphim, or an angel, in the context of Isaiah 6, is a fiery serpent. Let's go back up out of this. We're going to need that later on for sure. All right. Okay, it said, above it stood the fiery flying serpents. Each one had 6 wings, and twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. And one cried to another, and he said, holy, holy, holy is Yahawah of armies, or hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. So now we're dealing with his glory. That's the topic of conversation. It's really important for us to understand this, to hold on to our position, as we will demonstrate later on. It says, and the post of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, which is Isaiah, woe is me, for I am undone. Isaiah thought in his vision that he was dead, right? Because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Now, keep in mind, we got holy, holy, holy right here in the context of Christ. We got King, and we got Lord of hosts. We're saying that this is an attribute for Yahawah, King of kings, Lord of lords. There's plenty of precepts to prove that. When we read Revelation and other what they call New Testament concepts, Christ is referred to as the same thing. We're going to draw this conclusion in later on by just making parallels, by isolating the topic and showing the parallels on each topic. All right. Those topics are going to be, we're going to draw conclusions based off of topics like the name that is to be given, the book of life, glory, which I guess we'll deal with that first. the Father, the first and the last, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the I am. And we're going to prove a concept that challenges people's position on Christ not being Yahawah, because we also have a precept that says Yahawah sent Yahawah. All right. And then by the time this video is done, it's my hope that everyone knows how to distinguish the Ancient of Days from Scripture without looking for the term Ancient of Days, by understanding that the Ancient of Days does not have a name. That's the name that has to be given according to Revelation chapter 3. Right? Okay, so then flew one of the fiery flying serpents unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongues from off the altar. This is a spiritual altar. This is what makes me believe that Christ sacrificed himself in the spiritual realm and the physical realm, is because these coals represent what would have caused that spiritual offering to be offered. So this seraphim takes this coal off this spiritual altar, and he uses tongues to do it, and he laid it on Isaiah's mouth in his dream, and then professed to say to Isaiah, lo, this has touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. That's significant because of this precept. Hold on while I get it. All right, that precept is going to be Matthew chapter 9, verse 6. Right? This is significant. Out of the entire Bible, nobody purges iniquity or takes away sin. It's only one entity that does that. So right here, I'm saying that this has to be Christ. Right? And in the context of this, Christ is Yahawah. Now, let's get to Matthew 9 and 6 real quick to show that this has to be Christ. Matthew 9 and 6, but that ye may know that the Son of Man hath power on earth to forgive sins. So there's no duality to this in our position. We're saying that the Son of Man is Yahawah, so therefore we're linking them together. So we read in Isaiah, it says, thy iniquities are purged. We read in Matthew, while we have Christ on the earth, saying that you may know that the Son of Man has power on earth to forgive sins. So do we have two entities that can forgive sin, or one? That's the question that we ask. All right. Going out of that, this precept that I just pulled in Isaiah 6, I don't want to skip that before I drop it. The New Testament gives clarity on what we're reading in Isaiah. Let's see here. Let me try and find that right. Brother Shem, can you help me real quick? It's a precept that gives clarity to what Isaiah is saying in Isaiah 6, and it's a New Testament context, and it's almost quoting Isaiah 6 verbatim. And I'm gonna go ahead and read the rest of that while you're looking for that, because this is the point that it magnifies. So let me go Isaiah 6 again. And this is why I said, if you don't get it, it's not for you. If you can't see it, he don't want you to. So after Isaiah saw this and he was told that his iniquity is taken away and his sin purged, I think it'd be safe to say that we know Isaiah has salvation. It got confirmed with him. But let's read what is being said right here. And let me make sure I know who's speaking real quick before I just jump. So we can say this is the Ancient of Days still speaking right here in verse 8, because the Lord is Adonai. Right? So as we evaluate this position, it's almost bulletproof. So I'm going to swap the terms out as I see fit. That way people can follow my understanding. Also, verse 8. Also, I heard the voice of the Ancient of Days saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then said I, here I am, send me. And he said, go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not. That's like telling somebody to cross the street, but don't go across. That's like you telling somebody to listen to what I'm saying, but forget what I told you. So the entity that's speaking right here is saying pertaining to this vision that Isaiah just saw, these people's ears are going to be shut. The proof is in verse 10. It says, make the heart of this people fat and make their ears heavy and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and convert and be healed. He's speaking to the opposite of seeing, the opposite of hearing, and the opposite of healing as it pertains to what Isaiah just saw. But Isaiah asked a question. He said, then said I, Lord, Ancient of Days, how long? And he answered, until the cities be wasted and without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate. So until 70 AD, this is going to be a concept that's not even being entertained anymore, because it's going to be removed from the land that belongs to, or the land that's in his contract, and it's going to be removed from the people he's in contact with up until this point in time. Verse 12, and this probably is Yahawah. Let's see. Yes, it is. All right, so now we back in a Yahawah or Christ context. Verse 12 says, and Yahawah hath removed men far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land, but yet in it shall a tent, and it shall return and shall be eaten as a teil tree, as an oak, whose substance is in them. When they cast their leaves, so the holy seed shall be the substance thereof. That means that the physical manifestation and glory of Christ is going to be there, but only a remnant is going to return in the last days. Okay, so this is Christ in Isaiah 6. Did you find that precept, brother?
Yeah, I'm still. I was thinking there was an
I got you.
Isaiah. I was thinking about Isaiah 48, where talk about. Let me find it. Hold on.
I got you, brother. Since this is what I do when I have a hard time finding a precept. I'm gonna go back to Isaiah 6.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna go to the precept in question where he's deafening these people. I'm doing this to prove that this is in relatable context to the glory of the Most High, right? Which is what we're trying to clarify for people, what this glory is. So when I come here, I'm gonna go tools. I'm gonna go to cross references. All right, and I should get something here. Let's go New Testament. Boom, I see something in John. Yeah, Matthew chapter 13 is what I'm looking for. All right, so when we go to Matthew chapter 13, this is talking about the glory and the kingdom of heaven is to come, which Christ, which is the physical manifestation of Yahawah, is going to bring. Matthew 13:10, and the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? It's coded. He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. They've been blinded, is what we're saying. This mystery is only for a select few. Verse 12, for whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever have not, from him shall be taken away, even that he hath. Therefore speak I unto them in parables, because they see not, and hearing, hear not. Because the Ancient of Days is an adversary to these people, because their ears and eyes have both been closed and shut for them not to understand. He gives more clarity in verse 14. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which said, by hearing ye shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see and not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart and should be converted, and I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see. They only saw visions. He's talking to them seeing him in his physical manifestation, right? For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men, including Abraham, have desired to see those things which ye see and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear and not heard them. All right. So we're saying that Christ is in Isaiah 6. Isaiah 6 pertains to Yahawah as it relates to purging iniquity and sins. That is a job that only one entity has, and that is Yahawah, which is Christ, is what we're saying. All right. So that's just an opener. Kind of throw some jabs out there, maybe throw some stuff out there people can disagree with or whatever. I spoke to the moderator earlier. Before I go to the next point, did you catch anything that you might want to take a stab at, brother?
Just for clarification purposes, would that make Yahawah not be the Ancient of Days?
Correct. That's exactly what we're saying. So when I make the statement in our position that the God of the Old Testament is not the God the Father of Jesus, we're saying that because God the Father of Jesus is the Ancient of Days in proper context. And we have to free up Yahawah being the Ancient of Days in order for this position to fit. When we free up Yahawah being the Ancient of Days, that position is attributed to just the spiritual manifestation of Christ. And then Christ being born, died, and rose again is the flesh and spiritual combination of Christ. The Ancient of Days is the Father that's being spoken to in the New Testament by Christ is our position.
So would the Ancient of Days be El Elyon?
Yes. And that's another good question, brother. The reason why we call him the Ancient of Days is because we know people can identify with. None of the things that we reference him as is going to be his name because the name has to be given, right? Just to prove that position so we can take care of this now. I believe if you go to Revelation 3:18. All right. It's got to be Revelation 2. Where's the temple of my God? I'm looking for the temple of my God. It's got to be chapter 2. Hold on. Revelation chapter 2. No, it's got to be Revelation 3. Let me Google that real quick.
Yeah, Revelation 3, verse 12.
Revelation 3:12. The water.
Should be it.
Revelation 3:12. This is why Christ is saying this, because he's going to write the name of the Ancient of Days or the name that is the real name for Elyon on us. Only he has that name. That's the name that he said he's going to come to us in, right? And I'm going to read this real quick. Revelation 3:12 says, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God. This is the same temple that we read about in Isaiah chapter 6, where his train was filled with smoke, right? That was the Ancient of Days. That Adonai that's in Isaiah 6, that's referring to who Christ is referring to right here. He says, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God. Christ has a God. Yahawah has a God. He shall go out, he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my God. If God is Yahawah, then in this case, it wouldn't be no need to write a name on us by Christ. That's proven that he's not going to write his name on us. So that's the beauty of being in this position. There's not no way out of this. It kind of opens up the entire Bible. Because Christ said right here, I will write upon him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem. We're calling it New Jerusalem right here, just like we're calling him Elyon and Ancient of Days. We don't know what the name of New Jerusalem is, but we're going to call it that because this is as close as we can get to it. Which cometh down out of heaven from my God, and I will write up on him my new name. So we think that the name that has to be written on us is pertaining to the entity known as El Shaddai, Elyon, Ancient of Days, or Most High.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Would that make Yahawah or Yahuwah be who conveyed the 10 Commandments, or not the Ancient of Days? Or would you feel like it was a collaboration between the two?
It's a collaboration between the two in the sense that Yahawah or Yahuwah, as you might refer to him, gets the ability to operate from who he's referring to as his God in Revelation 3 and 12.
And Salaki just don't mean to interfere.
No, you got it, brother.
I will also add on to that, because when we go to Colossians, right, it gives us the separations of the ancient of days of Elion to Yahawah. You know, Yahawah is the first creature out of all the creatures. You could put that on the screen. That just give clarity of the order and dialogue. So yes, it is like a collaboration, but it's also genuine father and the son relationship, because Yahawah has an origin. He was created from Elion of the Most High, right? Colossians 1 and 15, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature, right? We do know that when Yahawah came in the earthly form as Yahawah Shai, right? He was that image. You could pull that out if you want to.
What's that, brother?
He who seen me has seen the Father. I think that's in John.
Yeah, I think that's John 5 and 37. Let me get that real quick. I was definitely gonna bring that out, but go ahead and nail it. I think that's John 5:37. Let me try that. Yeah, oh yeah.
Con. So yes, that was, it says John 5 and verse 37, and the Father himself, which has sent me, hath borne witness of me. Ye have never neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his shape. And then it says, and ye have not his word abiding in you, for whom he has sent him ye believe not.
He sent Yahawah, which is Christ.
Exactly.
Right?
So correct. So that's my thing when it comes down. So let's go back to Colossians real quick. And let's continue to furthermore the dynamics of the Ancient of Days and Yahawah. Right. And my thing is that, let me introduce myself. My name is Shema Shem. And the thing what got me is, how can we say that Moses was talking to Yahawah, right? If in the New Testament, in the book of John, and to be exact again, it said no one never heard of the Father nor seen the Father, right? And we know that Moses seen Yahawah's back parts, and we know that Moses was literally talking back and forth with Yahawah when he wanted to. Prime example, right? When Moses witnessed Israel building the burning calf, right? And he was having a conversation with Yahawah. He was literally talking, communicating, right? So that's what also opened my eyes to, okay, well, something ain't adding up when it come down to Yahawah being the Most High. What you pulling up for me?
Yeah, I'm just gonna turkey back off of you so they don't get confused in how we use our terms. Because the question is gonna come up: do you have two of this? Do you have two of that? Do you have two of that? You can say yes and no, because there's only one entity that you can enter into the presence of through his blood.
Right.
And with that being said, brother, we'll make Job chapter 41 our next context, right? Just to prove that, so we can make sure this audience is up to par with what we're saying. All right. So you can't approach this deity that we're talking about. You feel what I'm saying? You can't see him, you can't hear him, you can't be in the presence of him, none of that. You just simply vanish, right? And that's why it's good to understand the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. And this Hebrews 8 and 5, that's why that's up there. It's speaking to the spiritual priesthood and the physical priesthood. It said, for if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts to the law. All right. So this is talking about let me go back up in context real quick, because I think we need these verses right here. Okay. Yep, this definitely puts things in context. Now, of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. We have such a high priest, who is Christ, who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty of heavens. This gives clarity to another precept, Psalm 110. when he says, the Lord said unto my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies my footstool. Right? Once again, that's not Yahawah right there in that instance. That's Adonai, and it's only used one time. So Adonai, Adonai might be used twice in the scriptures. I don't know. I'm gonna double check that while we in the flow, right? But Adonai told Yahawah to sit at his right hand until he makes his enemies his footstool. So the context still fits here. Hebrews 8:1. Now the things which we have spoken, this is the Son. We have such a high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens. That's the Ancient of Days. Minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle. Once again, this is the 8th day kingdom, the kingdom no flesh shall inherit, the kingdom where the one who resides there must be worshipped in spirit and in truth. Flesh has no part in it, which the Lord pitched and not man. Okay. Says, so basically this Lord, I bet you this is Kyrios. Let me get that too while I'm editing. Let me make sure that ain't Kyrios. Oh man, that's fire. So Kyrios is Yahawah in the Old Testament. We're about to prove that too. Let me go back. So I'm just double checking I don't make any errors. I know this is gonna be public. Okay, so where was that Lord? Okay, so I'm gonna swap my term out again. A minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which Yahawah pitched and not man. So Yahawah is able to enter that spiritual realm of the Ancient of Days or Elyon or El Shaddai and pitch there. Man can't enter this. That's why no flesh can enter. Verse 3, for every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices, wherefore it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer. So that's what I was telling y'all earlier. He covered the spiritual aspect as a man, and he covered the Melchizedek order or the priestly order to approach the Most High Elyon or Ancient of Days with the sacrifice of his spirit and of his flesh. It says, wherefore it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer, for if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law. That's why when Christ restores the kingdom, as in the first, according to Micah chapter 4, verse 8, Christ won't be the high priest. He will be a high priest, but he's going to be high priest in the order of Melchizedek. So the sacrifices that these Levitical priesthood that's going to be regathered according to Malachi chapter 2 and 3, so they will be acceptable to the Ancient of Days. Right? That's why Christ is not going to be a priest during the 1,000-year kingdom outside the order of Melchizedek, because it's not going to be necessary, because his purpose is served by bringing us into the spiritual realm of who runs the 8th day. Who served unto the example and shadow of heavenly things is Moses, who admonished of God when he was about to make the tabernacle. For he said that thou make all things according to the pattern showed thee at the mount. I'll stop right there. The point is, who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things. So what we see being manifested and replicated in the spirit and the flesh by Yahawah, which is Christ, is setting up the order of the Ancient of Days, so we can get back in line with him and enter this spiritual 8th day, which is after the 1,000-year reign. So it's just a replica of things. It's a shadow of good things to come. That's why the law is set up like that, because it represents what's in the 8th day for all of Israel.
Let me know if I'm moving too fast, but you also want to bring out the division that Daniel seen where it represents that in the Old Testament.
Oh yeah, we could do Daniel 7 and 13. That's another good point right there. And then we'll go to Job 41, I believe. So I believe it's Daniel 7 and 13. This is really powerful. This is strong meat right here, actually, because you read in English, and there's a lot of people have arrived to the conclusion that the significance of Hebrew, or even that of the Greek, or even that of the Latin, is of no importance. But when you read the prologue to Sirach, it says, we labor with good intentions, but things not uttered in their original language, when they leave their original language and go into another language, they have not the same force in them. So when we read the scriptures, just say in that day 5 cities will speak the language of Canaan. What's the language of Canaan? It's Hebrew, right? It says seek the old path. That's what we're doing. We're seeking the old path. We're using the Hebrew to give clarity to things. So now when we go to Daniel chapter 7, verse 13, right? When we go here, I'm going to read the verse first. Let me get out of that. Okay, it says, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with clouds of heaven. This is Christ. And came to the Ancient of Days. So this manifestation of Yahawah, which is the Son of Man, which is Christ, has to approach the Ancient of Days and come to the Ancient of Days. What it means by that, by approach him, has to approach him with sacrifice. We just read that the law that we have is a shadow of what's in the heavenly realm. So if we have sacrifice in our physical and spiritual realm, there has to be sacrifice in the spiritual realm of the Ancient of Days. So when he's saying that he approached them and they brought him near before him, every time somebody approaches something to bring something near, it's dealing with sacrifice. Let me prove that real quick. We're just gonna look at how this word is used, and that should wake some people up. Okay, they brought him near. Let's do before him, right? Let's do before him. Let's look at how these verses are used. Okay, Shalakia. Let's do the other one right above it. Right, brought him near. What does that mean? We're about to give some clarity to it. So we got to go back and get context. Let's look at the use of this same word right here in Ezra. Look at it, how it's sitting on the page. What has it been translated to? Because this is the same word that you're reading about when it says that Christ approached the Ancient of Days. Same word, 87127, Ezra 6 and 10, that they may offer sacrifices of sweet savors unto the God of heaven. Ezra 6 and 17, and offered at the dedication of this house of God 100 bullocks, 200 rams, and I don't need to continue. You see the sacrifice. Ezra chapter 7 and 17, that thou mayest buy speedily with his money bullocks, rams, lambs, and their meat offerings and their drink offerings, and offer them upon the altar of the house of your God, which is in Jerusalem. Now, we just read in Isaiah 6 that the tongues were taken off the altar prior to Isaiah's sins being purged in the spiritual realm in a vision. So it's just a replica of what's going on in the eighth day kingdom of him or him who stands above the sea of glass. That's above the firmament, which is the ocean above us. Right? So I cleared that point. People read this verse and don't see the sacrifice that's required by Christ in this verse, and that's the clarity that we came here to give, right? And we do it in the most humble way, right? So we're going to read that again before we get out of here. It says, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. Christ died on the cross. He died on the cross. That's what that's saying. He predestined to die on the cross. He's sacrificing himself in the spirit, and he got to do it in the flesh to cover what he's trying to save in the flesh. All right. What was that other point you had brought out, Brother Shem?
I had lost my connection at first, but that was the point. You didn't nail it. That was the point that I wanted to bring out. But I didn't. To answer the brother on the line,
Sister Karima, can you put that question up? I don't see what he's talking about. It looks like he's having connection issues. Okay. It says Apostle Zaquan, the original Hebrew, which is the Abariyah, is not the Hebrew which is today, which is the Aramaic or the Masoretic, like the blue letter. I wholeheartedly agree, brother. That's not something that we actually contend with, and it's a good point to invoke, but it doesn't matter when it comes to the Ancient of Days anyway, because that's not a language that we speak, and it's also not a name that's given. So it kind of finds a hard time being put off into this discussion because it's not something that we actually even have So it's not even based off of language. So I don't thoroughly understand where you're going with it, but I'm gonna continue to read what's on the screen. It said this is what Stephen saw in Acts 7:55. He said that he saw God, the Most High, and Christ sitting on the right hand of God. You cannot be on the right hand of God and God too. You know, we wholeheartedly say that. So our position is that that Yahawah, which is the physical, which Christ is the physical manifestation of, was spoken to in Psalm 110 by the Ancient of Days. That's why the term Adonai is used there. Let me visit that real quick. I think if we go there, we'll see Adonai, which we're attributing to the Ancient of Days in the context of that verse, but let's get it real quick. I think we're well equipped to, just kind of go back and forth in this type of dialogue because we've approached this matter in a significant amount of sincerity. Let's look at this real quick. Okay, so I see we have
Salakia, if I may interject, I actually wouldn't even use that to answer that brother's question. Due to
it's in the reverse, ain't it?
I guess due to that song being attributed to a few different people other than David.
Right.
I would actually use the fact that I can't think of the precept right off the top of my head. I'm sure I could find it real quick. But there's a precept that says it's the Lord's book of life in the Old Testament. And then in Revelations, it's the Lamb's book of life. So you would have to make Yahawah the Lamb that's at the right hand, which is what's being spoken to in Acts.
Cool. Let's use that illustration. I got that in my notes. All right.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that precept real quick.
Exodus 32:32 and Revelation 13:8. So either way, it's gonna work, right? So since we're doing that, I've really been wanting to get to that Job 41 breakdown, but I'll just go and start making these analogies that I told y'all about earlier. I'm gonna go in order like I have it on my page actually from here, but I'm gonna deal with that book of life first. So this is how I really wanted to put it out here, right? So I'm gonna do this right here. I'm gonna type in Exodus chapter 3. Hold on, let me deal with this brother question. I'm all over the place. If I'm going off, moderator, brothers, keep me on track because my mind's going all over the place. I'm so apt to answer.
Well, where were you then, brother? Where were you?
I want to answer this brother's question that was put on the screen. So my brother is advising me to use an analogy that we already are thoroughly familiar with. So I'm gonna do that first, and then I'll get back to my original order.
Okay.
So the first analogy or parallel I want to make that drives this home is Exodus 32 and 32. Somebody mic is popping. Hey, Apostle Zaquan, man, I was watching you on this station, brother. Man, I like how you break the scriptures down, brother. You actually got me interested in this platform. I really like how I desire your spirit, how you take your time and you're not really rushed to give an answer. That's something that I'm praying for. All right. Exodus 32:32. Let me get there. Okay. Check this out. Now, right here, if people don't know the context of Exodus 32, I'm gonna go to the top just for clarity, right? We all know if you studied the scriptures, you know that the prayers of a righteous man availeth much. I only see Moses commit one iniquity, and that's lack of faith at Meribah. Instead of giving the Most High the credit, him and Aaron said, "Do I have to strike this rock?" Everything else, I'm considering once Moses was given the law, he didn't do anything out of in sin, or well, it's not recorded like that, right? So I'm saying that Moses is a righteous man. We don't even have to prove him to be a righteous man because of what the Most High told him, and we'll let his word be true. So here we go. So in the context of Exodus 32, Moses is asking the Most High, in this case, which is Yahawah, to see his full glory, right? So Moses is, I'm gonna paraphrase it. Moses saying, Yahawah, you say you mess with me, right? So since you mess with me, first off, if we got to go forward in these wars and take the land of Canaan, I don't want to go unless you go with us. But since you say you mess with me so much, hear me out. I want you to show me your full glory and show me what the end game is. All right. So that's the context, and I'm gonna show you as far as Moses got, and then we're gonna reel it into the concept. All right. It said, what is this people they brought grace sin on? Let me get to the point. No, this ain't it. That's Exodus 33. Y'all scratch the glory part. Exodus 32:32. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of the book which thou hast written. So Moses is asking to be blotted out the book of life. Now we have another question of duality. Denise. Now we have another question about the book of life. Do we have two books of life? Because we gotta hold on, I'm being distracted right now. Just forgive me just a second. So Moses asking, you know, like in the context of Paul in Romans 9, he said, for I wish that myself were accursed from my kinsmen according to the flesh, right? But it's not something that can happen, but it's something that he's asking for. Moses is asking the same thing. He's saying, man, just blot me out and fix all this right now, man. Make me the sacrifice for these folks. So his answer is given in verse 33. It says, and Yahawah said unto Moses, whosoever have sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book. So there is a book, it gives life, and Moses is asked to be blotted out of it. Now, when we go to Revelation chapter 13, verse 8, we got to ask ourselves something. What do we have to ask ourselves? I'm going to read it. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. Now, do we have Yahawah's book or we have the Lamb's book? Which one is it? Some people are going to try and draw a distinguishment and say, oh, it's just Christ working on behalf of Yahawah. We're saying that Yahawah is the Lamb. We're saying that Yahawah is the physical manifestation, right? Christ is the physical manifestation and the full glory of Yahawah that Moses was not able to see in Exodus 33, where the Most High told him, you're just going to see my back parts. Climb in the cleft of the rock. I'm going to cover you with my hand, and you will see a piece of my dazzling light. Right? So do we have two books of life? Because I see two in the 66 book canon. I see one in Exodus 32:32, a book that Moses can be blotted out. I see a book in Revelation 13:8. I hear another book in the New Testament saying you can be blotted out this book. Do you have to get blotted out of both or blotted out of one? Is it one or two? That's the thought process that we're invoking. So if I could get back to the screen, I don't know if they brought in some more questions. If so, I can't monitor this. I got a lot of screens up. Somebody said wrong. Yahawah told Moses to tell them that. I don't get what Real Talk is actually saying. I'll go ahead and put this 38 in the clip real quick.
Yeah, tell Real Talk to bring more clarity of his questions.
Yeah, that's a pretty dull question, right? Because we don't see Moses being commanded to ask him nothing here, right? We'll just run through that real quick. Right. Moses intercedes, and Moses said unto the Lord, see, thou sayest unto me, bring up this people, and thou hast not let me know whom thou wilt send with me, yet thou hast said, I know thee by name, and thou hast also found grace in my sight. So he's saying, Moses, I already told you that you got salvation in the bag too, just like Isaiah. It says, now therefore I pray thee, if I pray thee, if I. So Moses saying, I'm asking you, if since you say I found grace, this is the Most High speaking in verse 12. Moses says, well, since you say I found grace, right? He's saying, show me now thy way that I may know thee, that I may find grace in thy sight, and consider that this nation is thy people. So now he don't want to deal with himself. He want to know is Israel still taken care of? You got to remember in chapter 32, he just asked, could I just be the sacrifice for these people? Just blot me out and keep the rest, right? And he said, the he is Yahawah here. My presence shall go with thee and I will give thee rest, right? I thought Christ said, come to me for rest. So do you go to Yahawah for rest or do you go to Christ for rest? Right? And he said, my presence shall go with thee. I will give thee rest. And he said unto him, if thy presence go not with me, carry us not up thence. Moses said, if you don't go with me, man, I don't want to go. Right? I can do all things. Go ahead, brother.
No, I was just saying, and notice now how we see that Moses is going back and forth with Yahawah right here. And I was trying to mention this. I was trying to bring this earlier in John chapter 5, verse 37, when it says, and the Father himself, which have sent me, right, have borne witness of me. Ye have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his shape.
Ooh, so who is Moses talking to right here then?
That's my question. Then
it can't be the Father.
Keep scrolling down. And keep scrolling down Exodus 32. Go to the last verse, I believe.
Now we in 33 for this point. I got you. I appreciate the alley-oop too. You just showed me what I need to come with next. All right.
Okay, come.
So the context is like a back and forth dialogue, just like in the book of Job, right? So listen at what Yahawah, which is also the Most High, said. It says, for wherein shall it be known here that I and thy people have found grace in thy sight? Is it not that in thou goest with us, so shall we be separated in thy people from all the people that are upon the face of the earth? And the Lord said unto Moses, I will do this thing also that thou hast spoken. What is the thing that he's going to do that he spoke or asked? He asked him to show me his glory. Show him his glory. I'm going to prove that in the next verse. It says, for thou hast found grace in my sight, and I know thee by name, Moses. Verse 18. This is Yahawah speaking. And Yahawah said, I beseech thee. No, this is Moses. And Moses said, I'm asking you to show me your glory. So that's this brother's prayer. Now, for the people that don't study, you'll find out if you studied this enough if I ask the question like this. Did Moses get this prayer answered while he still had breath in his physical body or after the fact? And I also asked the audience, did Moses make it into the promised land? I say Moses made it into the promised land. And I also say that this promise that the Most High, aka Yahawah in the context of Exodus 33, was not fulfilled while Moses was living.
I agree. Scriptures agree too.
So whoever gets this fulfilled has to be Yahawah because Yahawah made the promise.
Exactly.
Right? So let's keep reading and then we're going to go to the transfiguration at the mount. Get that for me, Brother Shem. So I wanted to search
for 3:17.
Appreciate you, brother. Call halal. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, and I will proclaim the name of Yahawah before thee. So part of this promise of showing him his glory is he's going to proclaim the name of Yahawah before him, which is Moses. And will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. And Yahawah said, thou cannot see my face, for thou shall no man see me and live. Right? But the request is to actually see him. This has to be fulfilled, but you can't see him and live. Who can't see him and live? A physical man with blood running through his veins that is not put on immortality. I'm going to prove that. And he said, thou cannot see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. And Yahawah said, behold, there is a place by me, and thou shalt stand upon a rock. And it shall come to pass while my glory is going to pass you by. He ain't going to give him the glory or show it to him. He told him it's going to drive by him. It's going to pass by him.
That's right.
So this request or this prayer to see his glory ain't fulfilled in this chapter or during the lifetime of Moses. And it shall come to pass while my glory passes by that I will put thee in the cleft of a rock, and I will cover thee with my hand while I pass by. And I will take away my hand, and thou shalt see my back parts. but my face shall not be seen. So Moses didn't see the glory. The glory can't be attributed to back parts or no face being seen. And don't get it twisted when it say Moses got played with face to face. That's just speaking to direct communication because Moses is acting as a mediator between Israel and Christ, which is Yahawah in spirit form. Now, what's it say? Matthew 17?
Matthew 17, but I just want to pull this one verse out when you mentioned about that rock, right? That rock. This what Paul said about that rock in First Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. He said, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. So Paul is making a significance about that rock, right? During the exodus of our forefathers, when they was again led out of Egypt. This 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. I mean, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. Salakia.
Can I see it? I just wanted to pull it up so they can read it for themselves. This is the KJV we're dealing with. 1 Corinthians 10 and 4. And did drink. And see, you got we never people rebuttal with us, but you gotta see it in the spiritual. Man, we more spiritual than anybody can believe, man. We not dropping the spirituality on nothing. We telling people that Christ made in the image of his Father, which is a spirit, had to come in spirit, but to make his maximum effect on man as creation, he got to touch that too. 1 Corinthians 10 and 3, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. So we got now. This is what I call adding to the list of eyewitnesses. Paul just said that Christ is literally moving and doing things in the Old Testament. This is a great opportunity to throw Jude 1 and 5 out there, right? Jude 1 and 5. Let's throw that out there, right? Who led the Israelites out of bondage? Who led the Israelites out of bondage? We'll prove it. We're just going to read off the page. We prefer the NLT for this demonstration, right? New Living Translation, Jude 1 and 5. It says, so I want to remind you that you already know these things, that Yahawah first rescued the nation of Israel from Egypt, but later he destroyed those who did not remain faithful. Did Yahawah do it, or did Yahawah do it? We can't keep making these parallels. This is what people in Israel, especially large camps, are not dealing with. We respect the diligence of these brothers. We learn from all of them. And right now, I want to take an opportunity to give a shout out to all my teachers, man. Brother Yahawah, all Sons of Thunder, Gorilla Hebrew, Deacon, Tazaria, all the top dogs. I even like them boys that's out there in Dallas, Texas. I forgot what is it? I forget them guys' name, man, but they used to have an old preacher, man. It's like an off break of that camp. I forget their name, but forgive me. If I remember later on, I'll shout them boys out, man. But I learned from everybody. And I'm inclined to reach my own conclusion through the power and the spirit with two or more gathered together. Never arrive to a conclusion by myself. So right here, here's another precept right here. It says that Christ rescued the Israelites. Did Yahawah do it or did Christ do it? That's the question we're invoking, right?
That's right.
Christ is the spiritual rock, right? Is it Christ's book of life or Yahawah's book of life, right? We got an eyewitness that said Christ is that rock. Let's give you another eyewitness. I'm going to give you another eyewitness. What's that, 2 Peter? 2 Peter. Is it 2 and 1? No, it's got to be. Here we go. It says, Simon Peter, a servant and apostle of Yahawah, the anointed one, to them that have obtained like precious faith with us through the righteousness of God and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Right here, Peter is literally calling Jesus God. But he's not calling him the Ancient of Days when we say that. He's calling him God. Why? Because Peter understands prophecy. Prophecy says that you are literally going to call Christ Yahawah. And if you're not doing so already, then you are blinded according to Isaiah 6. It's like if for the ones that's just joining in, I did make an emphatic statement and say if you can't see it, he don't want you to. And when you do see it, he wants you to. So I'm not going to leave neither parties out. But if you can't see what we're saying, it's because this whole understanding, according to Isaiah 6, is blocked out from a great deal of people. Okay? So, second witness. Peter says Christ is God.
While we on it, Salakia, while we on the subject of that rock as well, two illustrations that I love to use in the Old Testament that will emphatically make the Lord the rock. You know how some people try and say Christ was that rock, and then they try and double down and say it's a separation between Christ and the Lord in the Old Testament.
I couldn't put my words together, but that is a point I wanted to address.
Psalm 18 and 46 is a great precept, and I would follow that one with Psalm 62 and start at the beginning of Psalm 62.
Oh boy, you slanging that sword. It says, Yahawah liveth, and blessed be my rock. So when we say Christ is the rock and Christ is Yahawah, it says that Yahawah is the rock. Do you have two rocks? Do you have two books of life? Huh? Do you have two Lord of Lords? Do you have two King of Kings?
I got you exact. The next one is 62 and 6.
Let's get it.
Psalm 62 and 6.
Psalm 62 and 6. Let's get the context upon God. We really couldn't apply to Yahawah here, but I'm still sure you could tell who God is if you read it and see, you know, the context of everything. But I'm gonna pull it anyway. We already proved that Yahawah is the rock, Christ is the rock, right?
Salakia, 62 and 2. Salakia.
62 and 2. Okay. How many redeemers do we have? Psalm 62 and 2. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be greatly moved. Right? So whoever is David's God is his rock and salvation. Who is David's God? Yahawah. Yahawah is David's God, so therefore Yahawah is a rock again. And I thought the Son of Man has power on earth to forgive sins. Isn't that what salvation is attributed to? You have to have been sprinkled with clean water to receive said salvation. That's going to be Christ that come back and sprinkle that clean water on you. And we ain't going to even touch on that latter rain right now. Christ is the rain, right?
That's right.
Two very powerful precepts, very powerful precepts. Recapping, do we have two books of life? Do we have two King of Kings? Do we have two Lord of Lords? Right? So
I also, my bad, Salakia. I was just gonna just turkey back on what Brother Amon was saying, man. We can also go to the book of Acts, right? Chapter 7. We can start at verse 37, just to give clarity on our claims.
Oh, what's this speaking to Deuteronomy 18, ain't it?
Okay. Go down to verse 38.
Verse 38. I'm gonna start at 37 for clarity. It's Acts 7 and 37. This is that Mashah, which said unto the children of Yasharallah, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me, him shall ye hear. This is the one that we are commanded to listen to or perish.
Right.
In Deuteronomy 18. Right? That's the Son of Man, which is the Son of God, which makes him God. I can prove that with John 5, right? When we use the term equal with God, we got to put Philippians 2 and 6 with it so we know what type of analogies Christ was drawing that made them think that he was blaspheming by saying he was equal with God. This is all he said. John 5:18. Therefore, the Jews sought the more to kill him because he had not only broken the Sabbath, but said also that Ancient of Days was his father. So this actually proves that the people who is seeking to kill him later on, that he's interacting with, they knew that this was a position that if you gave yourself this title, then they could call you God. Verse 5 and 8, chapter 5 and 18. Therefore, the Jews sought the more to kill him because he had not only broken the Sabbath, but said also that the Ancient of Days was his father, making himself equal with God. Now, that brings me to another point. I'm going to swap over to Bible Hub so I can draw this analogy. This is something I don't see people do too often. I'm going to go to Philippians 2 and 6. Now, check this out. When we call him God, we're still considered Arianness because there's only one God. There is none good but the Father. We get our worship to the Ancient of Days through Christ. That's what we're saying. Now, peep this verse, this Philippians 2 and 6. Look at all these parallels together, right? I skipped the NIV, Mr. Rupert Murdoch. NLT.
Cosmic Call TV, we worship in spirit, brother. It's impossible to worship man when you have the understanding we have.
Yep. So you see how when we take this position, you can't even bounce that type of stuff off of us. I just said earlier, we more spiritual than everybody because we got the name and we got the scriptures and we breaking it down and we are approaching it with sincerity and truth.
And we keep the law because the laws are spiritual.
We sure do. So with that being said, that's why this position is so powerful because it takes away a bunch of angles. Like you don't have to be like I had seen my boy Captain Cesario on here trying to defend the Melchizedek priesthood from a brother based off the predication that he can't be Melchizedek because Melchizedek had a mother and a father. But see, when you realize that Christ is Yahawah, he's the first begotten of the dead. How do you have a mother and father coming from the dead? That's telling you that he has power. All power has been given to him over life and death. You use a mother and father to come to life. You don't use a mother and a father to come out of death. That's why I said that Melchizedek order of priesthood is so the flesh realm can reach the spiritual realm of the Ancient of Days that we telling y'all is the God of Christ. Look at this verse. It says, though he was God, he did not think equality with God as something to cling to. ESV, who thought he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped. See, they're reading this in the KJV, and this ain't coming out like this. Berean Standard Bible, who existed in the form of God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped. Christ knows that he cannot be equal with whom begotten him.
Correct.
We're still Arianist. We only worship one God, but we have to be obedient to our Father in the flesh and our God in the flesh who brings us to the Spirit. Let's prove this. These are keystone corner precepts in the Bible that I think we just consistently ignore. Let me show y'all some that I see people can't get around. My favorite prophets. I call them online. I don't try to make a debacle about things. I hit them one-on-one, and these are people that I learned from, and it kind of came to me what David was saying in Psalm 119. He said, man, I know more than my teachers. That's only regarding these things that I'm speaking on, right? I'm still learning. I'm still growing. But this unlocks the whole Bible is what we're telling y'all. Right? I forgot my next point. So he's considering himself equal with God by saying he's the Son of Man. Right? That's why they're saying he's equal with God. Man, where was I about to go in the Old Testament? Man, I had some fire. it's just kind of hard lining these things up. This brother broke up.
Somebody named Cosman Cal TV said, "That's right. Y'all still believe God is the creator." Shaking my head, carry on. He must be late. He's missing this.
Yeah. So see,
Wait, say that again.
He said, "Oh, that's right. Y'all still believe God is the creator." Shaking my head, carry on. He's normally those people that come in that spirit are self-worshipers, right?
Yeah, they fools.
Or they're basically saying, "I'm a God. I don't worship myself, but I'm a God." Who is God, right? But that don't work on us either. We don't even entertain these type of things because the scriptures say only a fool would say in his heart that there is no God. So we respectfully, I don't even go back and forth with that, and I'm not calling you a fool. The scriptures do it say, "Don't even teach a fool." Right. So if you don't even acknowledge God, which is ironic as hell, right? Then hopefully you're not on that side of the fence, because I always tell people, how can you deny God by acknowledging he exists to say that he don't exist? You have to bring him up to say he don't exist. So if you don't think there's a God, just be quiet.
I have another question for you too, bro.
But they go off the Hawaii Bible, so they believe in Jehovah.
They believe in Jehovah Yah.
Yeah.
Jehovah Yah.
Okay, that's cool. Now what I do is I definitely talk about the name, and I won't let that infiltrate this for the sake of context wise. We're not on that. But man, when it comes to this name, man, we really do nail that, right? To the best of our ability with our understanding. I respect the Yah folks, right? I respect I'm gonna tell you the ones that I really like working with, because I always know I got the upper hand. Those Yahawah people, man, that's always a great back and forth right there, right? Most people that talk to me that's under the guise that Yahawah is the name, I end up converting 90% of them, I would say, and that's been my life, right? It's no way possible that can hold up, because you automatically make Moses a transgressor by not using that as the name of who he worships, right? But I respect the Jehovah and all this stuff with vowels, even though vowels just now popping up. I'm gonna give y'all a quick breakdown on this, on why a lot of this stuff has to be thrown out off the rip, right? So this is off topic. I'm gonna get right back on topic. But ancient Paleo Hebrew was consonantal. So the job that I put on people when they start introducing all these different names, we just telling you that we think that we have as close as we can get based off of this context, right? Because there was a time where vowels didn't even exist, right? If you search this term right here, Abjad, you might want to look into that. And this is dealing with Aramaic, this is dealing with Hebrew, Proto-Canaanite script, all that, right? Even this, some would say, even all the way back to the Wedge cuneiform, or what you call it, what the emerald tablets are written in, Akkadian script, right? It's Abjad, and that means 22 consonantal letters. If an alphabet is consonantal, that means that vowels are absent. The sheer fact that only 22 letters exist prove that vowels are absent. Now, you could take this consonantal-based language and look at a word like, I use Esau, for instance, and you would know based off the context how to pronounce it differently with the same characters, right? They definitely had grammatics and stuff like that. Well, we don't deny that. But anytime you're introducing something like that and you saying you're so sure that this is the name of the Most High, and you putting vowels in the pronunciation to link those letters together, you already are starting a battle that's gonna, it's just gonna raise your burden of proof that's gonna be on you. And I'm gonna leave that alone right there.
Yeah, and I would tell a brother to find something older than Sennacherib's prism to support their claim about the name of Yahawah as well.
Yep, that's fire. For Yahawah, you say for Yahawah before Assyrian captivity?
Khan, if I'm not
Well,
mistaken, the actual
Yahushua, all the Yahushuas and the I forget all of them. I
yeah,
respect them though
if I'm not
because
mistaken, the actual Tetragrammaton is written on the name of, on Sennacherib's prison.
well, the Tetragrammaton is Hebrew, so Sennacherib's prism is what Syriac or what is it, Aramaic? Let me check that real quick. I know we went off, but we'll get right back on. I need to know that. That's something to know on the fly. Cuneiform script. Oh, snap. Okay. Yeah, that's something we'll revisit offline, bro. That's fire right there. I ain't gonna even hold you. Okay, so it's going back to the Wedge script. But anyway, dang, it was another precept I was finna pull out, right? But yeah, with that name, man, look, we can do that. I'm introducing myself to the platform. If anybody want to try and test their knowledge, we just put our studies of years together and let us all try to come out with the best outcome. I'm open to that at a later date. Just reach out to the host and reach out to me, and then we'll just keep things going, man. But yeah,
Hey, I have another question for you too, bro.
Got you, brother.
Okay, so who did the nation of Israel enter into a covenant with and receive the law from? Was it Yah or was it the Ancient of Days?
It would be Yahawah. It would be Yahawah. And let me that's I keep the questions going. I'm going to show y'all something. This is why I feel like this, right? So back to the Elion, right? Did you remember earlier when we brought up the I'll pull it up on the screen. What's the precept in Deuteronomy said his Most High divided the nations?
What is that, Deuteronomy 32? Hold on.
Yep, right here. Deuteronomy 32, verse 8. Let's get there real quick, right? This is why I think that would have been done by Yahawah, right? Because in the context of our understanding, when you read Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8, when it reads, when the Most High divided the nations, we are saying when the Ancient of Days divided the nations, their inheritance. When he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Why? Because Yahawah's portion is his people, Israel. That's his inheritance. So if that's his inheritance, they're going to inherit something from him. Inheritances get passed down, right? So this is Yahawah. This is the Ancient of Days, right? This is Elion. When Elion divided the nations, right? He set them according to the number of the children of Israel because Yahawah, I'm going to say it, was given an inheritance. He was given an inheritance by his father, which is Elion, Ancient of Days, right? The one who exists out of time, the Leviathan. You understand what I'm saying? So let's does that answer your question, brother? Before I don't want to jump to another topic. Does that answer
Yes.
that I'm in?
Yes, you answered that. The law and the covenants came from Yah, right?
Correct.
So do me one favor for the people, right? Due to those who may be foreign to your way of seeing things. That I know that there are some in the comments as well who are wondering if Yah's the one who gave the law, then wouldn't giving praise or honor to the Ancient of Days be in violation of having no other gods before him?
You actually keep that law better when Christ is Yahawah. So that's why I was going to deal with his glory. Let's go to his glory. Let's go to Isaiah 42 and 8. Right? So we are saying that Christ is the glory of Yahawah. So we only sticking with this one entity. Let's read it. It says, I am Yahawah. That is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. Now we had left off at the transfiguration, right?
Salaka, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So we was dealing with his glory. So if we understand in the context of the law and the writings and the prophets that Yahawah don't share his glory with anyone, then whose glory is Christ in? He said, all power is given to me. The Son of Man has power on earth to forgive sins. He's in Yahawah's glory, which is him. It hasn't been shared with anyone. That's what makes this position so beautiful. It literally opens the whole Bible up. This is why IUIC is going back and forth with all these other camps, because they have just become privy to this information. That's why they're going back and forth like crazy. But I'm gonna say this respectfully: the people that I see try to respond, so far I'm probably on maybe 30 precepts. Right? They're not answering with precepts. Even some of my teachers, it's just a whole bunch of mumble jumble. You kind of stuck in your understanding, because what this does is it takes a lot of positions that you have made and you've been indoctrinated and you fed it to such a large crowd that you're gonna have to come out and be like, oh man, y'all listen, it's 10,000 of y'all, but hey, look, I messed up. Y'all come back and deal with me. Let's clean this up, and then we're gonna clean the slate. We're gonna move forward. We're gonna get a new and better understanding. We profess that Yahawah don't share his glory with nobody else. Does that answer my position and makes it relatable to your question?
Okay.
I also want to add on to the fact, also what Brother Kara mentioned as well. We do know that Yahawah gave us the law, right? And what was the first law that Yahawah said in Exodus 20? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Right? So that's the thing. We know that in order to make it to the kingdom, right, we have to have the faith and we must keep the laws. And that was the first law. Yahawah said, thou shalt not have no other gods before me, right? So in actuality, when it comes down to it, we're actually not in transgression, because we're keeping the law which Yahawah has given his chosen people.
Wait, so the Ancient of Days isn't quote unquote before him?
Yes, the Ancient of Days is before the Son of Man and Yahawah. That's why he's referred to as the Ancient of Days. We're giving him that as a name, but it's not a name. It's an attribute of him. It's saying that he exists outside of time.
So how could you not have any other gods before him, yet also recognize the Ancient of Days as being before him?
Because he's a shadow of that heavenly kingdom. He's a replica of everything. So how Christ worships his Father, we're in the same hierarchical structure of how we approach worship.
Salakia, I think he's under the impression. Are you using before as tense? Are you saying before as in like
tense, or as in his presence?
Yeah,
above him, right? Well, how do you all interpret
that before the Lord
him?
is worshiping any other God in his presence? Being before the Lord is being in his presence.
Yeah. I actually got the answer to that in scripture. We're gonna go back to this again, right? This is what I want people to understand, right? Yahawah is the Most High as well, y'all. That's why I didn't want to introduce the concept yet, because it gets kind of confusing. But let's understand that Christ has all authority on the earth, because he won't try to circumvent his Father's spot. So he could call himself God and not be disrespectful to who originated him, right? But let's go back to this word, 5945. Look at this now. I don't have to say it. It says it right here. It says that Elyon is the high, upper, exalted. Who is the Davidic king? It's Christ. And it says that Elion is exalted above the monarchs, highest, most high, name of God. It didn't say the name of Yahawah.
How
Name
can you be? How can you be exalted if it ain't no one to exalt you?
Oh man, that's crazy, right? And exactly. So this also proves that Christ was exalted. It's too many indications in the scriptures that Christ was exalted. That's just like when you read in the Apocrypha, he said he was taller than any man, right? When you look at Revelation chapter 1, it said, I saw one like the Son of Man in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, right? He was higher than everybody. He's been exalted just like Adam was exalted. So just the nature of the context of the verses that go with this proves what I'm saying, right? Oh, that's fire. This runs me right into it, right? The Melchizedek order is a spiritual order.
I was just about to ask you to talk about that.
Look at this. This is crazy.
Please.
How this just popped
It's
up.
like the order. It's like, yeah.
Look, it says Melchizedek, king of peace, brought forth bread and wine, and he was priest of the Elion. He was priest. He was a spiritual priest. So the requirement not to have a mother and father don't apply to him. He doesn't have a mother and father by default because he originated in the spirit.
Con. And also you mentioned about how they worship Christ, right? My thing is this: Christ, they didn't find no good in Christ's mouth, so he did not sin. So when we go to Matthew 15, we just read in Exodus 20, they said, thou shalt have no other gods before them. When we go to Matthew chapter 14, verse 33, it said, then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, of a truth, thou art the Son of God. Why is Christ allowing these people to worship him if the law literally says that thou shalt not have no other God before me? Right? So there's also another verse to indicate that Christ, a person who did not commit no transgression, was Yahawah. 2:12. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. Now, in order to go to the Father, we have to go through the Son, right? No, the scripture said no one never heard from the Father, no one ever seen the Father, right? So we have to put our trust in someone, and who that someone going to be? That's going to be the Son of the Father, Christ, Yahawah.
And by the way, this Psalm 2 and 12, this is the only time this word for son is mentioned in the whole Bible, right? It's not even a Hebrew word, but I'm not going to really harp on that right there. I'm finna turkey back off you, brother. You keep going. Put your precept up there that supports what you're saying. I think it's John 6 and 44, right? We got to make light of what Christ was trying to tell us. Look at that. It says, no man can come to me except the Father which have sent me draw him. That's why we just said everybody's blinded to the fact that Christ is Yahawah. And the people that actually figure this out and believe it wholeheartedly and make that a part of the administration of their faith, the Ancient of Days drew you. If the Ancient of Days didn't draw you, he has become your adversary. He has become your Leviathan, right? It says, no man can come to me, this is Christ talking, except the Father which have sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day.
That raising up as the...
Except Elion, the Ancient of Days, sent me draw him. No man can come to me except the Leviathan from Job 41 draw him. So, and I will raise him up at the last day. Go ahead.
I would definitely say that raising him up at the last day, or raising up at the last day, is a reference to Daniel 7 and 13, which is also clearly us being offered to the Ancient of Days. That's what that raising up is. It's talking about the 8th day.
Which speaks to that priestly prayer in John chapter 17, where he says, I need you to look, oh man, I by the Spirit went to verse 14. It says, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. And his dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. Right? This is talking about what the Ancient of Days gave Christ after he presented him both forms of sacrifice. Right? People need to wake up to 1 Corinthians 15 when Paul is literally telling you that there is another entity that we need to pay attention to, that Christ is going to hand the kingdom over to. Right? Let's say 1 Corinthians 15. 1 Corinthians 15. Okay. There you go, right there. 1 Corinthians 15 and 24. It says, then cometh the end, when he shall deliver up the kingdom of God, even the Father. Who's going to deliver the kingdom of God? The kingdom of God is his people. Who's going to give the Israelites to the Father? Because anytime you're in a New Testament concept, when you see this word even, it means that you need to pull the two prior thoughts together. That means that God, in this context, is equivalent to the Father. He which shall deliver up is Christ. Then cometh the end, when Christ shall have delivered up the kingdom to the Ancient of Days. He said his kingdom is within us. He's going to deliver the Israelites to the Ancient of Days, which is also the Father. We got to deal with that because we're about to go on in further into scripture to show that even if we give the title Father to Christ, he's still Yahawah. It's the only reason why all these things become titles is because Yahawah is his name. He only has one name, so any other thing you call him is just a title. The name is still reserved for the Ancient of Days. Now let's deal with this. Is Christ God? Is Christ the Father? Is Christ Yahawah? I'm going to go to another precept that people have a hard time dealing with because they're just reading in English. And even the ones that even go into the Hebrew, this one goes over their head. I think it's Jeremiah 23 and 6. Jeremiah 23 and 6. You can't beat prophecy. Jeremiah 23 and 6 says, in his days, Judah shall be saved. Whose days? His days right here, Jeremiah 23 and 5. Behold, the days come, says Yahawah, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch. Yahawah, which is the physical manifestation of Yahawah. That I will raise up unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. That's Christ. Now watch this. I'm going to force people to disagree with prophecy simply by reading. It says, in Christ's days, Judah shall be saved. That's what Yahawah means. It means God is salvation. Right? And the first three letters of Yahawah is the first three letters of Yahawah. Yod He Vav. In his days, Christ's days, Judah shall be saved, and Yasharallah shall dwell safely. And this is his name whereby he shall be called. The scriptures force you to call the righteous branch, which is Christ, Yahawah. Let's prove it. Let's prove it, right? His name, his Shem. Boom. It says, let me shrink this down. It says, his whereby he shall be called, or Karah, Yahawah. There you go, right there. That's the tetragrammaton. Yod, He, Vav, He. 10, 5, 6, 5. It says you need to call Christ Yahawah. So people can't disagree with you on this position when it's made plain on tables that prophecy says that you're going to call Christ Yahawah. Now, this is the one name given under heaven amongst men, whereby which we must be saved. And the Son of Man has power on earth to forgive sins. The Son of Man is Yahawah. Nobody else can share in that glory. That's because Christ is Yahawah. Now watch this. We're going to go to Isaiah 9. Let's go to Isaiah 9. Where did he get these titles from? Isaiah 9 and 6. This is I actually hear pop up in the argument. Still ain't no way of getting around it, right? Who is this child that's being born in Isaiah 9? For unto us a child is born. I'm going to give my answer. For unto us Christ is born. Unto us Yahawah is born. Unto us Jesus, which is the Greek way of saying Joshua. For unto us Joshua is born. Unto us a son is given, the Son of Man, the Son of God. And this and the government, which is the world or the cosmos in John 3:16, shall be on his shoulder. And his name shall be called what? Wonderful. That's a title. Counselor. That's a title. The Mighty God. That's a title. The Everlasting Father. That's a title. And the Salt Covenant or the Peace Covenant, the Prince of Peace, right? He brings the Levites back to the drawing board as it relates to sacrifice, to make their sacrifices in the last days when the third temple is rebuilt acceptable to the Ancient of Days. This literally says, I just proved in Jeremiah 23 and 6 that prophecy says you're going to call Christ Yahawah. I got Isaiah 9 and 6 on the screen. It says you're going to call him God. Right? Let's give some more parallels. Right? I like to use this one too. This one just get your brain to working. I'm gonna go to Isaiah 48 and 16. I'm not gonna be long-winded. I got a lot of precepts on this. It's really hard to organize this information because my focus is making sure that people understand what I'm saying before we get too deep. Deal with things that need to be addressed before I just throw a bunch of precepts out there, right? So I'm just trying to show people what they are not considering, because people lock into doctrines all the time. We don't study doctrine. We study the Bible. Isaiah 48 and 16 says, come ye near unto me, hear ye this. I have not spoken in secret from the beginning. So Yahawah was from the beginning. All right. Hold on, let me verify. I gotta stay accurate. Let me make sure this is the Tetragrammaton, because I see the Tetragrammaton right here, but these all caps, right? I may need to move my context. Let me make sure this is not Adonai or let me just make sure. Let me see who that Lord is. I don't like Aaron with the scriptures. It is. Okay. Oh, Adonai. So this is the Lord as in Yahawah. So God, the Tetragrammaton is still here. I need to know that. I don't want to getting loose lips. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 say, hold your foot when you enter the house of the Lord. All right. So let me close that out, get back to it, right? This is a powerful precept. Isaiah 48 and 16. It says, come ye near unto me, hear ye this. I have not spoken in secret from the beginning. From the time that it was, there am I. That's Hayah. That's that I am that I am. I thought in John chapter 8, he said before the Abraham was the I am. How many I ams do you have? How many Hayahs do you have? He said before the Abraham was the I am. This is what he meant. He says this is before Abraham. I have not spoken in secret from what? The beginning. Since the first verse of the Bible says from that time that it was, there am I. And now the Elohim, hold on, what was that? Was that Adonai? No, that's the Adonai, Yahawah, and his spirit have sent me. Let me slow this down for people that can't get it. I'm going to do a parallel on this. I'm going to go to Bible Hub, Isaiah 48 and 16. 48, 16. Bible Hub. Isaiah 48, 16, Bible Hub. Let's do some parallels. NLT, come closer and listen to this. From the beginning, I have told you plainly what would happen. And now the sovereign Lord and his spirit have sent me with this message. So he's saying he sent himself. He's speaking in the context of I in the context of this chapter is Yahawah, and Yahawah's spirit sent I sent myself. I want to stop right there and see how people are breaking this down to make sure that I'm not a bug out. I would like to stop right there. I just pulled up a Bible verse. Here are multiple parallels where Yahawah is saying that he's going to send himself. How are we dealing with that? I'm listening, Israel, and those outside of Israel.
Yeah, I got a nice walk down. I think the brother is still up on the platform that asked about who the covenant was made with, like as far as like on the reverse end, like who made the covenant with us. I'll put it like that. I
Well,
remember
which covenant and who is us?
he said in the law, so I'm guessing he was talking about the covenant that us keeping the law with.
At Mount Sinai.
Exactly.
Mount Sinai.
That's what I was waiting on. Okay. I got
I
got a nice walk down for you.
Go ahead, take over, brother. I'm gonna pull your precepts. You probably want Exodus 3.
I wouldn't even go back that far. I would more so probably start at like Exodus 19. Yeah, I started Exodus 19:3. And it says, and Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called up unto him out of the mountain. So we know that was Yahawah at the mountain, correct? And then you can go to Deuteronomy 33, and it lets you know that he will come with tens of thousands of his saints. Yes.
And
then you go ahead, just like always, you go with 2 witnesses in your law, or
who was that? Habakkuk and Judges 5.
What you got? And
the
Habakkuk,
2 witnesses.
Come. Let me go. Habakkuk.
Hold on. Hey, slow it down. Do it in the order that you just said, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a good precept to start. He said, and Moses went up to God, and Yahawah called unto him out of the mountain, saying, thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Yasharallah, right? You mentioned, what was that? That's Deuteronomy 33, right?
33:2.
Let's get that. Now, this goes over a lot of people's head too. Most of this context is future tense in this chapter, Deuteronomy 33. This is forward. This is how you are going to know where, Shalakia, I lost my screen. This is how you're going to know where the Israelites going to be in the last days. And there's a lot of things that lead to this point and forthward, right? A lot of people get right here to verse 2. As you mentioned, Brother Iman, they don't realize this is a future prophecy, but you're about to prove that. What you just go ahead. I got your screen up, brother. I'm gonna have that Habakkuk 2 on speed dial.
Go ahead.
Deuteronomy 33:2, and he said, Yahawah came from Sinai and rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of his saints from his right hand when a fiery law for them. Now, people read this and say this was already fulfilled in Exodus. We agree, right? But let me throw the context in there for you to take back off, Brother Iman. You have to apply it with the totality of this word. I'm going to give 2 precepts that you need to have in mind when you're reading a prophecy like this. This is not a one-time deal. Let me go to Ecclesiastes 3:15. It says, that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and God requires that which is past. Let's go to 1:9. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. This is going to happen again. Now let me go back. Powerful precept. When he says the Lord rose from Sinai, came from Sinai, that's the law. It said Yahawah came from Sinai. That means he left the Israelites and rose up from Seir unto them. Imam, we're not gonna get him all of this tonight. This is super deep. So we'll just use this guy point.
Yeah, we don't have to, but I would definitely use I would definitely go just to put the nail in the coffin. Like I say, we got our 2 examples in the law. I would just go straight to Revelation to put the final clarity of understanding on it. You know, about who that is working with this mount, and who we conflate the Lord to being. Revelation 14:1 says, "And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their forehead."
Ooh, the lamb. I thought it said Yahawah gonna rise from Sinai with 10,000s of his saints. It just said the lamb.
With his father's name written in our foreheads, the name that we don't have.
How many people gonna rise from Sinai? 1 or 2. How many books of life is it? 1 or 2.
And
who does he share his glory with? Nobody.
If Yahawah is not the lamb, then that means Yahawah's name is going to be changed according to Revelation 14:1. And you got to show me another precept saying that Yahawah's name is going to be changed from what it is, as if we don't have his correct name.
Hey, where is that do again what you did in the past? Is it 3? You with me out?
Till I just had a little train drive by, bus drive by.
Habakkuk 3:2. Shalakia. I hate to keep the audience waiting. Habakkuk 3:2. Look at this now. And this is pertaining to what? Rose from Seir, rose from Paran, right? The prayers of a righteous man availeth much. Habakkuk is a righteous man. Here is his prayer. O Lord, I have heard the report of you. I stand in awe, O Yahawah, of your deeds. Revive them in these years. Make them known in these years. In your wrath, remember mercy. It says revive them in these years, which means some translations even say, let me get this parallel real quick.
Yeah, that's a precept. I'm glad you used that. That's the precept that I have highlighted to go with Psalm 2:12 to prove that son's wrath is the Lord's wrath.
Look at this right here. I like the NLT, man. It's just a straight literal translation. It says, I have heard all about you, Yahawah. I am filled with your awe by your amazing works. In this time of our deep need, help us again as you did in years gone by. So us showing that Yahawah is going to come with his saints. It said the lamb came with his saints. You can't box us in with Deuteronomy 33 saying it already happened, because what's prophet is this? Habakkuk's his prayer has to be answered. He got to do it again. And when he does it, he going to rain down on Edom and he going to crush the Ishmaelites.
Exactly.
Haran is where the Ishmaelites are. All these people that are mentioned are firstborn. Ishmael was firstborn. He didn't get the covenant, right? Esau was firstborn. He didn't get the covenant. Cain was firstborn. He didn't get the covenant. The covenant from Yahawah, with Yahawah giving it from Sinai, is only for the Israelites, says Paul. We don't even need to pull no more witnesses. This nails it. This nails it. What script was when the Most High said he would send himself? That brother Christopher the Lawful, that's going to be Isaiah chapter 48, verse 16. Right? Yeah. Some Apostle Zaquan said, for sure, this is what I'm saying. We do not know what his new name will be because it doesn't apply today. Khan, much agreed, right? Brother Christopher, I'm just reviewing the comments again. Brother, like he quoting Deuteronomy 18 and 19. Yep, because 18 is above it. Which script is that? Well, man, I should keep over. There's a lot going on. Okay. I'm gonna skip over Orion. I say Yahawah because the U order, then a W. He's gonna deliver the kingdom back to the Father. And yes, the people are also considered. Yes. We on one accord. We definitely on one accord. Yeah, there are many gods, but the gods that we're actually calling gods are not actual gods with the power that we attribute to. Let's deal with that too. We got to show how you can use the term God colloquially. I do want to deal with that. Just looking at the comments. Let's go to what's that? What's that? Exodus 22, guys. Revile.
Yeah, Exodus 22, verse 12, I believe, or 18. Don't revile the judges or gods.
Exodus 22, what, 3?
Let me see.
What verse is it?
Exodus. Hold on.
I'm about to wrap it up like we're hitting the 2-hour mark, man. We got plenty of time to hit this again. I'm not trying to be super long-winded. I want to just open it up and you just kind of see where everybody mind at. I've been out the spirit of just trying to be
Exodus 22, verse 28.
22, verse 28. Let me get the KJV, verse 28. Yeah, so this is something too. This is when you read John chapter 8, when he said, haven't you read ye are gods? People like to go to what it's a psalm. It's a psalm that says that ye are gods.
82 and 6.
Yeah, Psalm 82 and 6. I would actually go back to the law, which
you did not revile the gods.
Yeah, so my question is, who are the gods or the Elohim that you should not revile in Exodus 22 and 28? I can call myself God. So I can also call Christ God. Christ is above me.
Mm-hmm. Did Sarah not call?
I can call myself God. I can call Christ God. Christ is God. Yeah, what you saying? Sarah called Abraham Lord, right?
That's what I'm saying. Sarah called Abraham Lord.
These gods that you should not revile in Exodus 22 and 8. These are the rulers of your people, as you can see. This is why the time of what's that? The way the book of Ruth starts off, it said in the Judges, right? Yeah. It's a different word used for rulers in the book of Ruth when it said the time when the judges ruled. But when you go and look up this word right here, let me go with Exodus 22, 28. Exodus 22, 28. And what's that gonna be? Blue letter?
Yeah, I was just gonna still stick with the law, man. Deuteronomy 14:27 when it talks about the Levites, right? Do not neglect the Levites.
Yeah. It say don't forsake the Levites as long as you live on the earth.
Right.
That's what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, kind. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so that would be a God that you should not revile. When you neglect the Levites, you neglect the tabernacle, the physical tabernacle that gets you to the spiritual tabernacle, because it's clearly evident that if obedient is better than sacrifice, and Israel is disobedient, then you're gonna need the sacrifice.
Salakia,
you don't need Christ. Go ahead.
Salakia, brothers. Are you going to open the panels up for discussion and questions?
Yes, I want to do one more thing before I do that, because I think this is one of the most powerful things that I haven't been able to do. So I'm going to go to the Greek Septuagint real quick, and I'm going to visit this word. It's called Kyrios, right? So I'm going to use the Greek Septuagint. I'm going to go to where God gives his name. The God of the Old Testament gives his name. So I'm going to go to Exodus 3:15, Greek Septuagint. Right? I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go to verse 15, and I want people to pay very close attention to this. This predates the King James Bible. The Septuagint was around before Christ was even born. What was they saying in the Greek to refer to Yahawah as? Let's look. So we go to Exodus 3 and 15. What did they call him? Kyrios. Right here you go, right here. This in the Greek Septuagint, Kyrios is replaced for Yahawah. So the Israelites that I think what somebody that's on the panel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I could have sworn that it was either Alexander or Ptolemy got 72 Israelites to come to Carthage or somewhere towards Egypt, and the Israelites translated our pearls into Greek. And in doing so, they transcribed the name that they knew as Yahawah into Kyrios. That's very powerful because every time we follow this word Kyrios in the Bible, which is what is it, Strong's? Well, I'm not in the actual Strong's right now. It's not giving it to me. But if I'm just going to paraphrase it, when you follow Kyrios with this new context that we're given, Kyrios is the same as Yahawah, which is Christ. Kyrios is the term for Christ in the Old Testament, which is what I'm proving by Exodus 3 and 15. And Kyrios is the name for Yahawah in the New Testament through a Greek lens. And with that, I pull back for questioning on this position.
Okay, real quick. Great presentation. Gave me a lot of pause on a lot of things. As a Christian, minister, pastor, all together for 40 something odd years before coming into the knowledge that I was one of the original children of the Most High, Yahshua. Everything y'all saying, I believed for 48 years. In 2015, when I first came into this truth, that was one of my first struggles. That was my first struggle. The deity of Christ. In Christianity, I was taught about the Trinity and believed it. So when I first came into this truth, when I went to the school, the Hebrew school in Detroit, that was part of their curriculum. That was part of their teaching, that Christ was the Most High. After doing study and speaking with other people, I came to the conclusion that Christ is not the Most High, because I recognize that as an Israelite, we are being taught not in monotheism, but in henotheism. That the Most High recognize that there are many gods, but there's only one supreme God, one Most High. After taking and studying the Abiyath for 3 years and learning the original Hebrew, and the difference in his teachings from that of the Masoretic, even the Aramaic, of the strict guidelines, I came to the conclusion that the word God is mostly misunderstood. Misused and abused. So I ask you, when it comes to God's name, the Tetragrammaton, that I believe is the personal name of the Most High that we have today, which is Yahawah.
Yeah, 3BY is in 100% agreement with that.
Okay, let me finish. That is his name that we have today. When Christ returned, we will be given a new name, but that will be based on then, just like Abraham did not know him as Moses knew him. The name that Moses was given was a mighty deliverer. But Abraham didn't know the Most High as a deliverer. Abraham knew him as a provider. So y'all would use that word El Elyon or whatever. I don't use El. I don't think Christ even used the word El from the cross when he said Eli, Eli. I believe that's a mistranslation. I don't think he ever would have spoke Aramaic.
I got a quick question about. I don't want to interrupt you at all.
Yeah, I know. I'm slow, man. I'm measured.
No. Just one quick question about you saying Abraham not knowing the name Yahawah. Are you under the impression that Genesis 22:14 is an insertion?
No. I didn't say he didn't know him as Yahawah. I said he didn't know him as I am that I am, that Moses knew him as. Ahaya Asha Ahaya.
So Moses doesn't
or
know
the
him
deliverer. Moses knew the Most High as a deliverer.
But was the name Yahawah that Moses knew him by?
Yes, but Abraham didn't know him by that name.
So Abraham didn't know him by
scripture
that name?
says.
But what
The
about
scripture,
Genesis 22:14? That's what I'm asking you about. Because
okay,
Moses
yeah.
uses the name Yahawah.
Huh?
Because Moses uses the name Yahawah to reference the Lord. In
Yeah, I
Genesis
know
20.
Moses used the name Yahweh.
I mean, Salakia, Abraham uses it in Genesis 22:14 to
Yeah,
reference the Lord. So,
at a time Abraham didn't know it, but then there was a time when Abraham did know it. Abraham's relationship started as a servant, a stranger, a servant, and a son. Abraham's relationship grew over 100 years.
So is it possible to say Abraham didn't have the true name and then he got the true name?
Yeah, I believe he got the true name before
So
he
why
left.
would we need to get another name if Yahawah is the true name?
Because Yahawah is based on his dealings with man in this dispensation that we are in. Just like Moses knew him in Moses' dispensation, Abraham had a different name in his dispensation. Noah had a different name in his dispensation. So when we get to the other side, we won't need to know him as a deliverer. We will already be delivered. We won't even need to know Christ as one that brought salvation because we would already have it. And we will be in a different dispensation. So even Christ would have a different name.
But wouldn't that dispensation still be deliverance?
No, deliverance will be over. There will be no death. There will be no sorrow. There will be no pain. Correct?
So I would ask you this question: does death and hell get cast into the lake of fire at the end of Christ's reign or at the beginning?
at Christ, you're talking about the millennium. Christ's
Yeah,
reign starts at the millennium,
I get that.
and death and hell is still around.
All
Yeah,
right.
because the final judgment has not come until after the millennium, and then the millennium, and then Gog and Magog will go out and be gathered, and the camp will be surrounded, and that last battle will take place, and then Isaiah 60 will come into place, where we won't need the sun to give us light. We will have the light of the Father, of the Most High, shining on us. We won't need a moon. There will be no sun. There will be no moon. There will be no death. So Isaiah 60 lets us know that at that time, we would know God in Christ. Why? Because we will be made just like they are. There will be no more mysteries. We will know even as he is known. So there will be no more secrets. Everything will be revealed. There will be no need to teach one another. Because
Can I stop right there? Because I'm holding 2 points.
yeah,
We're under the thought process that there will be no more to teach any man, no more his neighbor. And according to the context of neighbor, Leviticus 19 and 18, that neighbor is our brothers, our fellow Israelites.
right.
So we actually have the new
We will
covenant
be
coming.
teaching strangers.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So we're gonna, according to Zechariah 8, verse
Right.
31, or the last verse, right? We're gonna teach all nations. We're gonna become priests according to Isaiah
Right.
61, right?
We will be teaching nations.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not getting my question answered. The reason why I asked that question is because most of what you're saying we don't disagree with. We're saying that Christ is not going to write the name of his God on us until the very last dime, until we go into the 8th day. We're saying that Christ's kingdom lasts for 1 day, which is 1,000 years.
Right.
All right. So during
Which
that
is
time, we won't have the name of the Ancient of Days then.
right.
But we do have access to the power that it has because Christ is coming in his Father's name.
Right. I agree.
Then he's going to write that name on us for the 8th day.
I agree. After the Sabbath. I agree.
Correct.
But the Sabbath is the day that the Most High draws nigh, right?
Correct.
To his people.
His
So that's the 7th day, right?
Correct. Correct.
So we're in the 6th day, right?
Correct.
So in the 7th day, we would know Christ. And in the 8th day, we would know the Most High. I'm talking about his name. That
Correct.
will be given to us at that time.
Correct. That's what
But
we're saying.
today, we know him as Yahawah.
That's what we're
And we
saying.
know Christ as Yahawah Shah, which is Yah's salvation. Because that's who Christ is. He is his salvation. In the very first word of our text, in the Barashath,
the beginning,
God reveals, the Most High reveals in that one word his plan of salvation for his people, for his children. Y'all said something very, very interesting, and I will compound it. If that revelation has not been revealed, if you cannot break down the Barashith, to me, it's because that revelation has not been given to you. And that is the very first word of our text in the English, in beginning. That one word, God reveals his plan of salvation.
You think we disagree with that?
I'm saying it because I want to know if you know the revelation.
Yeah, so I mean, we could say that for another dialogue. Genesis, that one book, Genesis chapter 1 through 6, respectively, and then 6 through 10.
I'm talking about Genesis 1:1.
Yeah. I'm cool, but anything dealing with pre-diluvian, man, you're talking about having 1,000 years in one verse. You know what I'm saying? Or just like the jump from Cain to from Genesis 5 to starting Genesis 6, man, it's hundreds of years right there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
That's not something we can just limp wrist in conversation. I can give you very small pieces of my understanding. You did say something that was interesting. I'll show you that I do study. I thought Barashit was 2 words instead of one.
Actually is Ba, house, Ra, head, Sha, deliverance, Tha, sign, or law, or monument. Ba is house, tent, in house. Ra is head. Who's in the house of the head is the sun, the bond, the Shah, go through destruction, the Yod or the Yah by his own hand on the thigh, the cross. The Son of God from the house of God, which is the Bayath or the Bethlehem, the Bath, Bayath, is from the house of the chief of the head, going through destruction, Shah, Yah by his own hand, on what? The thigh.
So just to turkey back and I guess put some clarity on where we're saying we agree with what you're saying. You haven't separated the fact that this can be the Ancient of Days calling Yahawah his son.
Yeah, well, see, I distinctly believe that Yahawah and Yahawah Shah.
Because this is something being created inside of time once you say the beginning.
Yep.
So
Well,
using Barashit, you're inside of time.
Yeah, there's a word missing from that scripture. And I understand why they took it out, because 1 through Genesis 1 is 7 words. And that's dealing with, again, 7 days. Those 7 words is dealing with 7 days.
So question, because I like how you broke down Bereshit. I'm well aware.
Can you break down the word Deba? The Hebrew word Deba?
No, not right now. But I got a question about how you broke down Bereshit, because like I said, I love it. Is it possible for that to be something outside of time, creating Yahawah?
Creating Yahawah or Yahawah Shah?
Yahawah.
Because I believe in Quran, in Colossians, he's the firstborn of creation. And all things were made by him and for him. Talking about Yahawah Shah.
I'm in total agreement with that. Because
but he is a created being himself.
Right. So he was created and then recreated through the flesh. That's your understanding?
No, he was created and then he, through the word, the Deba, the Da and the Ba, or the Ba. Even in that, you got Abba, which is the father. And the Da is the door.
Right.
And we know
Yahawah, not the father.
The son. So the way through the father is through the son, who is the word.
Exactly. But according to you, the word is the father as well, right?
Your words are your words, right? But check it. Because I can bestow authority upon my son because he's my son. My word can carry him and he can stand in my place.
Exactly.
Through the
So
authority of my word.
that's a perfect understanding. I'm so
That's
glad
right.
you broke it down like that again. So once again,
That's right.
the way that you just broke it down, why can it not be the Ancient of Days creating something inside of time once he creates time to say, I'm done talking. I need you to do all the talking for me.
I
And
don't have
after
a problem with
everything
that.
after one more second.
Yeah.
Everything after Genesis 1, well, not everything after Genesis 1,
Right.
but as soon as you get to Genesis 2 and 4, that's when you get the name Yahawah.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
Ancient of Days has created something for him to be done. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. But like I say, no one has seen him in his flesh and live, right?
I think
No
the
man has seen
subject
him.
changed just a little bit. I think the subject just changed.
No, I'm just saying. It did.
I'm cool
But
with it,
I'm just
and
thinking
we
about,
can go there.
I'm
I just
going
want to.
back to Abraham. And when Yahawah visited Abraham, even Melchizedek, because I believe that still was Yahawah. But when Christ said, Abraham saw my day and he rejoiced, did Abraham see Yahawah or did he see Yahawah?
He saw Yahawah, and he saw what I'll put a clarification on it. He saw the manifestation of Yahawah,
Which is his glory.
which is what Christ is.
Mm-hmm.
And I would double down on that to say that Christ wasn't in the priestly order of Melchizedek until he was risen from the dead.
I agree.
Right.
And that Abraham context is the same context of Isaiah 6 when he saw the vision of the glory of the Ancient of Days. So when he's saying he shared in that vision and what Abraham saw, that vision came to multiple people, not just Isaiah, as in chapter 6. Same instance for Abraham, just in a El Shaddai type way, you know?
Yeah. Brothers, I'm going to tell you, you caused me to pause. The first Israelites that I've ever spoke with that basically almost brings silence to me when it's on this subject. And I'm saying I have talked with the best out there outside speaking to God face to face and giving me understanding. I'm taken back. And my brother out there, IBM, I know he's watching. Y'all have given me something to think about. Next year I'll be 70 years old. And I got a lot more studying to do. I've been on this path since I was 22 years old. You brothers are causing me to rethink some things. I haven't said that in a long time. I'm humbled. And it's been a pleasure. I don't want to take up no more time. I know we got other people on the panel. I just want to express that to y'all. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep it up. I will pray for y'all and that the Most High will continue to be with you and bless you, even as I pray for myself and my family.
Hey, Shalom, brother. And
Shalom.
Yeah. The water for that too.
Yeah, the water.
Yep, peace and blessings. Man,
Yeah.
I was over here giving all praises to the Most High in silence, man, because me and my brothers at 3BY, this is literally what we work for. Your exact response in all humbleness is what we work for, because we on the side of the scriptures. We're not on the side of doctrine. So we can constantly pull out these scriptures and go into these strong concordance, like I noticed you clearly have a great deal of understanding of. Man, I'm on your side, and I can see it. We just like you saying, all we got to do is be able to be taken back. I had to be taken back as well by another brother who had been studying this topic for over 10 years. So as long as you can humble yourself and die daily, like Paul say, and be able to be taken back through the Spirit of the Lord, you got to know that that's what baptism is. That's what being baptized with fire feel like.
Oh yeah.
It's embarrassing sometimes. It's humiliating sometimes. But guess what? If you want to be righteous, that's the side we got to stand on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do have another question for you. I'm gonna call you Elder Zaquan.
Okay.
How would you break down Isaiah 14 and 29?
Read it to me real quick.
It says, "Rejoice not thou, whole Palestina, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent." Who is the cockatrice that comes out of the serpent's root, whose fruit is a fiery flying serpent?
Yeah. I can't answer that question right now, but I would say a broken heart and a contrite spirit in no ways will despise.
The water,
I
alcohol.
got somebody that want to ask a question. Say something real quick.
Yeah, but how about that, Elder Zaquan?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Shalom, Malak.
Okay, all right. What's
Shalom.
going on, everybody? Peace and love to the panel. Peace and love to everybody in the chat.
Shalom, how about that?
Thank you to my brother Apostle. You know, I appreciate the compliment, brother. You know, and you young brothers are doing a great job. I'm on Kareema's phone, so if I could just say this real quick, and because I don't want to hold her phone up, right?
That's my brother IBM.
But we gotta understand that in Galatians 3:15 and 16 it says, "Brothers, let me put this in human terms. Even a human covenant, once it is ratified, cannot be canceled or amended." Okay, and what this is talking about is, you know, the purpose of the law and God's promises. Okay, now we say the promises were spoken to Abraham. This is Galatians 3 and 16. The promises were spoken to Abraham and to his seed. The scripture does not say, and to seeds, meaning many, but and to your seed, meaning one, which is Christ. Okay, who is the Lamb of God and the Lion of Judah. Now, I'm a little confused, Apostle. You can explain this once I'm done with one of y'all. But you see that God had moved away from Israel and said, you know, he was going to go away from Israel, but he was going to give his favor to Judah. Now we know Assyria was at the top, which deals with the northern part of Israel. Judah is the southern part. And they were both crammed in between, you know, two great empires, Assyria and Egypt is Judah, okay? So, yeah, I was just wondering, Jesus is turning, or God was turning from Israel one time, saying they were not his people, and going to Judah, which is a part of, you know, supposedly a part of Israel, so they say, but you know what I'm saying? So we got to remember that. And then it says, when y'all are talking about God, Jesus being around in the book, well, 1 Corinthians 10 and 9 is talking about the people who had to make that snake, which is a symbol of medicine today, the snake on the staff. But the symbol of medicine, you had to make that snake on the staff so the snake will stop biting them. But it says in 1 Corinthians 10 and 9 the main two. 1 Timothy 3:16. Great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh, seen on by the angels, preached to the Gentiles, and taken back up in glory. So if y'all go to 1 Timothy 3:16, if y'all want to pull that up, 1 Timothy 3:16. That is telling you God is Jesus right there. And then the last one, I'll let Kareem get back. Oh, yeah, that word that y'all saying Yahawah, it said Jehovah. And we know that God says in the Bible that, you knew me by, he was telling Abraham, you know me by the Most High, or, I'm paraphrasing, you know me by the Most High, but by my name Jehovah, you knew me not. Okay? You knew me not by Jehovah, until he was ready to give that on God's timing. It's God's timing. God's promises, God's timing. Okay? Right? So we're dealing with God and what he chose us to give. Just like in the Garden of Eden, he didn't, he told Adam and Eve and them not to eat. Now, I didn't see a lot where he explained a whole bunch, but he's talking directly to these people, and they still do wrong. He's talking directly to the guy who he says don't spill your seed on the ground. Tells him to have seed with this woman, and he pulls out. And then you know what I'm saying? You're going against a direct command of God. That's why you're getting these punishments. But you talk about great is the mystery of God, and God was manifest in the flesh. It says that right there. And it also says Jesus was made a little lower than angels. Said he offered himself up to God. Everything was created through him and by him, right? So we got all those things. So y'all on the right path. You know what I'm saying? You got John 4:1-4. You got all these scriptures. And then the really last thing, I'm sorry, with Acts 3:25, it says all families of the world. He gave, the blessings will be for all the families of the world, not just Judah or Israel. They are the light of the world. They were to be the shining light of the world, to show God's example through these people, so the people would come in and convert. Not to be a racist, supremacist organization blaspheming everybody, saying, "Oh, you ain't gonna make it because you ain't this, you ain't but you." All these social constructs that was given to us, these names that was given to us, that they add to the scripture when they ain't doing nothing but lying. So y'all keep up the good work. I'm proud of y'all. Like I said, and this is all through God's promises to Abraham, which the one seed, which is Jesus. This is even the seed for David. All of these promises were for Christ. Okay, and like you said, y'all keep y'all head high, your grass low. Stop lying to my people. I love all of y'all. Peace.
Hey, yeah, that was a good breakdown, man. It's kind of tying into what I was saying, and it's crazy. That's just how the spirit reveals itself. I was just asking the elder.
That cockatrice, I already
that's
seen.
what I'm saying. It just kind of fell in my lap, right?
Through the spirit.
You see, this brother brought up the serpent, right? We're trying to tell y'all that Christ is the serpent that came from a serpent. So that's why you need to read Genesis the way you do. So right here, we're saying that.
And if Christ was a serpent that came from a serpent, then Yahawah coming from the Leviathan is just doubling down, man. Y'all got to open these books up and read for sure.
Yep. So that the answer I was looking for right here is, let's go back. I'm just going to double back to Isaiah 6 real quick. Look at this. So a lot of people, they call a seraphim an angel, but what they don't realize is that a seraphim is a serpent. And this serpent in Isaiah 6, notice that this sepah, it should be sepah, this Sarah, right? Look at this. So this what purged this iniquity in Isaiah 6 was a serpent, a fiery serpent, right? So just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, like in John 3:14, we're saying Christ is a snake. He's a fiery serpent. So when I brought this precept out and this brother spoke to the rod and they was bitten and stuff, that's what I was trying to get the brother to break down. Let's read this real quick. I'm going to go back to Isaiah chapter 14 and show people that this is talking about Christ coming, right? So it says, rejoice not thou whole Palestinian. This is talking about when Ahaz died, right? So that's important to know the context of this. That's why it's telling Palestinian not to rejoice, because King Ahaz was basically whipping their ass. All right. It said, don't get it twisted, because the rod, we know that's the rod of men, of him that smote thee is broken. Don't celebrate because King Ahaz is out of here. It says, for out of the serpent's root, we're saying the serpent is the Ancient of Days, shall come forth another serpent, or a cockatrice, or a seraphim, or a fiery flying serpent, or the serpent that heals Israel when they got bit by it.
Which
it
is
says,
Yahawah, which is Christ.
Exactly. And it says, and his fruit,
Oh.
right? His fruit, the fruit is of this cockatrice, which came from this serpent. So let's go like this. Ancient of Days, Yahawah, his fruit, Christ.
Slaki, question. Are you saying the serpent in the garden in Genesis is Christ?
Negative.
No.
Okay.
Negative. And I'll tell you why. Just off of natural knowledge of the scriptures, I'm gonna go to Revelation 20. Right? So we attribute that with being the highest principalities in power who the world is given in the hands of, right there. And when it says that the dragon is going to be wroth with the woman's seed, or I forget what it says in Genesis, it said, and she will make war with the remnant of his seed. We think that's a pre-Diluvian prophecy speaking to the fact that the last captivity spoken of in Daniel, which is spearheaded by the Edomites, because we can follow them from their Greek dominion, is that dragon and that old serpent, which is synonymous with the devil and Satan, who's going to be bound for 1,000 years. So we see multiple serpents, and I'm glad you said that, right? Because we're getting right around to it. Let's go to Job 41. Job chapter 41. Now, for all my apocryphal readers out here, you study creation, and you know you have a whole nother bottle sheet in 2nd Ezra chapter 6. And it speaks to the 5th day. We're drawn, just like I just told you that that's not the same serpent. This is not the same serpent. We see a Leviathan in 2nd Ezra chapter 6 that gets separated from the Enoch of the behemoth. One lives on land, one stays in the sea. Right here we have another Leviathan. Let me show you two Leviathans real quick, just to prove the point. I think it's Isaiah 27. All right. So it says, in that day, Yahawah with his sword and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, that piercing serpent. Even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that's in the sea. So this serpent can die. Right? So let's go back to Job 41. I'm just going to read this in context. It says, first off, so I can get through this faster, notice that the first 7 verses are questions. I'm going to tell y'all off the rip, the answer to all these questions is hell no. So let's ask them. Can thou draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Can thou put a hook in his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn? Will he make many supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee? Hell no. Will he make a covenant with thee? Wilt thou take him for a servant forever? This is saying that the Ancient of Days is not going to make a covenant with you. Yahawah is. We know that this is not Yahawah. Let's keep reading. And we know this isn't the Leviathan that we just read about in Isaiah 27 and the Leviathan that we read about in 2nd Ezra chapter 6. Verse 5, wilt thou play with him as a bird? Hell no. Wilt thou bind him for thy maidens? No. Shall the companions make a banquet of him? Shall they part him among the merchants? No, they did it to Christ. Can thou fill his skin with barbed irons, or his head with fish spears? They did it to Christ. But in Job 41:7, no. This is how I know the answer is no. Verse 8, lay thine hand upon him, remember the battle, do no more. Y'all got to go check these other translations out, right? Let me go Job 41:8. I'm going to swap over. I'm going to do this in Bible Hub. BibleHub.com. Job. Let me do, I guess I'll do NLT. I'll do NLT and we'll do Job 41 again. Watch how this conversation goes. Okay, it says, will merchants try to buy it to sell it in their shops? It says, will it hide its hurt by spears or its head by a harpoon? If you lay a hand on it, you will certainly remember the battle that follows. You won't try that again. No, it is useless to try to capture it. The hunter who attempts it will be knocked down. You cannot approach this Leviathan right here. You can't even seek it. That's why Christ is in the midst of us. Because if you see the dazzling light of this Leviathan, you're going to be knocked down. Verse 10, and since no one dares to disturb it, the Ancient of Days, then who can stand up to me? No one. Who has given me anything that I need to pay back? Everything under heaven is mine. So this goes back to what my brother was talking about in Genesis. We got to start entertaining the fact that the Ancient of Days could be working prior to letting his begotten do what he was intended to do or predestined to do from his beginning point, which is the beginning. Verse 12, it says, I want to emphasize Leviathan's limbs. It is in its enormous strength and graceful form. Who can strip off his hide and who can penetrate his double layer of armor? He has a firmament above and below. He sits on above the sea of glass. He's above the firmament, according to Ezekiel. Who could pry open his jaws? They say they went to space, but they ain't. You ain't made it there, for its teeth are terrible. The scales on his back are like rows of shields tightly sealed together. They are so close together that no air can get between them. Y'all saw Elon Musk shoot that water up in there to what we call the sea in this space. That's a sea above us. Each scale sticks tight to the next. They interlock and cannot be penetrated. When it sneezes, it flashes light. Its eyes are like the red of dawn. Lightning leaps from its mouth. That's why when you read about the Ancient of Days in Ezekiel, it ain't nothing but fire coming from his throne. Lightning leaps from his mouth. From flames of fire flash out. Smoke streams from his nostrils. Like steam from a pot heated over burning rushes, its breath would kindle coals, for flames shoot from his mouth. The tremendous strength in Leviathan's neck strikes terror wherever it goes. His flesh is hard and firm. No, let's skip down to 26. No sword can stop it, nor spear, dart, or javelin, right? Arrows cannot make it flee. These are just the attributes, right? Nothing on earth is its equal. No other creature so fearless. Of all the creatures, it is the proudest. It is the king of beasts. It's the serpent that bare the cockatrice. I want to bring one more analogy. I promise y'all this is my last one. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 22. Y'all got to ask yourself these questions, right? Where is this? Let me pull it up real quick. I got it wrote down. I was studying this the other day. 2 Samuel 22, verse 7 through 12. 2 Samuel 22, verse 7 through 12. Now, I'm finna ask some questions. 2 Samuel 22. I'll just go down to verse 12. All right, 2 Samuel 22. Right? So this entity that's being spoken of right here, I'm equivalent, I'm equating it to the Ancient of Days. All right. So it says, he parted the heavens and came down with dark clouds beneath his feet. He mounted a cherub and flew. He soared on the wings of the wind. Let me start at 7. It says, then the earth shook and quaked, the fountains of the heavens trembled. Right? This is why you got silence in heaven for the space of 30 minutes in Revelation. I don't hear nobody talking about it. Right? It says, then the earth shook and quaked, the fountains of the earth trembled. They were shaken because he burned with anger. Smoke rose from his nostrils, and a consuming fire came from his mouth. Glowing coals blazed forth. He parted the heavens and came down with dark clouds beneath his feet. What is this that's being associated with darkness, might you ask? Verse 11, he mounted a cherub and flew. He soared on the wings of the wind. He made darkness a canopy around him. Who is this? He makes darkness a canopy around him. A gathering of water and thick clouds. This is a powerful verse, y'all. The darkness around him is to shield us from his glorious splendor and his power, which no man has ever seen and lived. The gathering of water and thick clouds, Christ has to come with clouds according to Revelation 1 and 7. Christ is the mediator. That's what this verse is saying. Christ is the mediator for the Ancient of Days, whose canopy around him is darkness. Christ is the latter flood, as in the days of Noah, according to Matthew 24. According to Hosea, he's the latter rain. He's coming with clouds. When you look at the cloud over the tabernacle in the book of Exodus and the book of Numbers, I want y'all to go check that out. It literally says a nimbus, which is a storm cloud or a rain cloud. Verse 13, from the brightness of his presence, coals of fire blaze forth. I challenge everybody to start looking in these scriptures for the Ancient of Days, but not by the title Ancient of Days. He's all through these scriptures. We just got to do the work and figure it out. So we consistently being introduced to concepts that we can't effectively break down to understand. That's the sign that we need to keep our mind open, man. The book of Sirach, or I believe, says, study the law and you will master it. I got one of my favorite. I think it's Sirach 41. What does it say? It says, what does Sirach 41 say? This was my last precept. I'm just showing y'all some more stuff that I kind of had in the chamber that we need to evaluate and see what's being spoken of, because 2 Samuel 22, as y'all can see, is David's song of deliverance. We get that deliverance through that cloud or that rain that is a mediator between the Ancient of Days, which is shrouded in darkness, because his light will kill you. Right? And my final one would be, let's do Sirach 41. Sirach 41, this is one of my favorite verses. It might be 39. It might be 39. Come on, team. Y'all know what I be pulling, man. Yeah. Sirach 39. This is what I leave y'all with. All right. Let's do the GNT. It says, but it's different with the person who devotes himself to studying the law of the Most High. He examines the wisdom of all the ancient writers and concerns himself with the prophecies. He memorizes the sayings of famous men and is a skilled interpreter of parables. He studies the hidden meaning of proverbs and is able to discuss the obscure points of parables. Great people call on him for his services. He is seen in the company of rulers. He travels to foreign lands in his efforts to learn about the human good and evil. It is his practice to get up early and pray aloud to the Lord, his creator, asking the Most High to forgive his sins. Right? So all we need to do is seek out the wisdom of all the ancients and be occupied in prophecy. Let's keep the walk, Israel. I'm glad to have been hosted by the Lions Den. I've already met some stand-up brothers in the community. And there was another comment. I got it from this brother. He's been very interactive. If you're still with me, Christopher the Lawful, you had that Christ's kingdom won't be one day. When I say his kingdom is one day, I'm saying his kingdom is the duration of the seventh day. And that seventh day represents 1,000 years, according to, I believe, 1 Peter 3 and 9. I don't want to leave that stone unturned. So when I say one day, I'm saying 1,000 years, and I give you proof of why I'm so convinced, because when you go to, I believe, Hosea 6, and this goes back to that rain, right? Hosea 6 and 2 says, in 2 or 3 days he will revive us. Now, is these 24-hour periods or 1,000-year periods from 70 AD? Right? It says, in 2 or 3 days he will revive us. Let me get the KJV. Let me get back to the Hebrew. Back to the Hebrew. It says, after 2 days he will revive us. And then the third day he will raise us up. I just gave you a precept with 3,000 years in it. So 2,000 years from 70 AD will be 2070. I meant 33 AD, right? So it depends on when you have Christ being crucified. I'm a 33 AD guy. I can defend myself, right? It says, after 2 days he will revive us, and the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. See, I don't have to pull that 1 Peter verse with one day to the Lord is as 1,000 years, 1,000 years is just one day. Right here is nobody that can come to Hosea 6 and 2 and say that this is 24-hour periods. Because now you have to go in and demonstrate that this prophecy gets fulfilled in 72 hours. I'm telling the viewers that after 2 days, he will revive us. That's after 2,000 years. And it even confines this prophecy even more. It says in the 3rd day. So 3,000 years from 33 AD, we shall live in his sight. And then we shall know, if we follow on to know Yahawah, his going forth is prepared as the morning. He shall come unto us as the rain. It said Yahawah gonna come to us as the rain, as the latter and former rain on the earth. He talking about Noah. This is not 24-hour periods. Let me get Matthew 24 real quick, right? Listen at what Christ said. Listen at what Christ said. Matthew 24, full chapter. All right. Now look what he said. Pay very close attention. Look at that, verse 38. Let me start at 37. Now pay attention, y'all. Now we just read in Hosea 6, verse 2. It said this in the 3rd day he gonna raise us up. Who is Christ talking about in where am I at? Matthew 24, verse 36. Listen at what Christ said. I just read y'all some days where we can expect Christ. So who is Christ talking about in verse 36? It says, but the day or the hour no man knoweth. We just got the day that Christ gonna come. That shows us that we should distinguish who we don't know the day nor the hour. That's why that beast, Gog and Magog, is loose for a little while. That's the space and time at the end of that 7th day or that 1,000-year kingdom. So while Gog and Magog is still going out to deceive the nations, we're not going to know when the Ancient of Days finna fulfill what we read about in Daniel chapter 7 and 1 Corinthians 15. Christ said that no man knows the day or the hour. No, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So Christ don't even know this day. Verse 37, but as the days of Noah were, they're going to flood, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. Verse 39, and knew not until the what? Flood came. We just read in Hosea 6 and 2 that Yahawah said he going to be the latter rain. Christ said, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Christ is Yahawah. I digress. That's it for me, sister. I think this has been ample time. When 52 minutes over what I wanted to, but that's all I got.
Yep. Karima, for letting us on your platform, and especially for all the bouncing on and off I was doing with my service over here. The water Elder Zakam, the water Greg Phillips, the water Christopher the Lawful. I'm trying to remember all these names off the top. Even Tyrone. Ladybug Tyrone, man, we're gonna pray for you, brother. And like I say, man, all we ask is that y'all open up the book and read, man. That's it. We try not to do too much of our own interpretation and
Con.
We're
gonna pray for Tyrone. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we try not to do too much adding and taking away, man. We try and stick to line by line as close as possible with using, lexicons when necessary. And we say peace to all Israel. And hey, man, we'll see eye to eye when Zion.
Shalom. Salaki, y'all. Take care. Barakathon.
Barakathon. Yahawah.
Appreciate y'all coming through. Love the information. Hopefully y'all can come back and give up some more meat and potatoes and all that good stuff. Everybody that's here, please hit the like. You like the information that's presented. Share the information, and hope you enjoy them.
Yep. Please, definitely like this video, and definitely go and give our channel a thumbs up. We need all the help we can get to get algorithm friendly. That's 3BY, Brothers Bound by Yahawah. Mississippi on YouTube. That's Brothers Bound by Yahawah, Mississippi YouTube, or you could just Google 3BY Mississippi, and y'all tap in, and Lord's will, we'll be back, Baba Kasha. Shalom.
Yeah, and just to any future debaters, might I add, that are going to watch this clip, keep in mind, I have about 10 to 15 precepts that we didn't get to. So prepare yourselves.
Yep, just like this other person that just said that fiery flying serpent isn't Christ. We open to these type of interjections. You just got to show us who it is. You can't deny a claim and then just leave it just with no response, Mr. Indigenous Black man. So if that's not a prophecy that points to Christ, we open to that understanding. Hey, Shalom, I'm finna hit the leader studio. The water for having us.
Shalom, Kwam Yasharala.
I want you and that young man to tie that knot. I'm gonna pray for you. And I want you to hold on to God's unchanging hand, because he helped Joshua fight the battle of Jericho. Yes.
It's the old
He helped Daniel get out the lion's den. He helped get off the island.
Let me get straight to the business. Yeah. Got them lions in the building. Yeah. Why you lying to the children? Yeah. Why you lying to the children? RIGHTEOUS. Man, you know I've been to bed. Man, they know contest. Yahawah, he do the bled. We will not see you tomorrow. Cause you cannot go to thought. All the sons and all the daughters standing all with big manodas. But my son, he made me Taurus. On that line, I'm still a Taurus. Karate kicking Chuck Norris, 4-5 on my waist. If he started, will not hesitate to get retarded. Oh lordy, he ain't got a PowerPoint, he farted. He running to the hills like a Philistine. G-Hawk hitting Hamites with the guillotine. Situation turned up with the ratchet team. JJ 7000 to the debate league. Yeah, I know them haters gon' hate me, but he won't debate me. Pistol off safety. He respond, come wake me. If I don't get up, nigga shake me. If he don't show up, then he fake G. I touch down and make these nigga nuts hate me. Dear brother. Balling and crawling all the way from H-Time. Let me get straight to the business. Man, them lions in the building. Why you lying to them children? Why you lying to them children? You gon' cry, you gon' get it. Me, I'm like a frog, nigga, ribbit. Of course, it's in the spirit. I just got the Porsche, she can steer it. Mito got the raw, Shaq and Willie. Lamborghini doors, you better not spill it. Mama's high, say I'm more than just a villain. Mama's cry, armed open wide for her children. Suicide, immortalized as the realest, yeah. Death by cut, black suicide. Let me get straight to the business. Got them lions in the building. Why you lying to them children? Yeah. Why you lying to them children? Yeah. RIGHTEOUS.